The Demon King is absolutely losing it, screaming at the hero for being a vile person. The hero, King Hansu, and the Saintess don't even flinch, walking right into the heart of the Dark Castle. The Demon King is forced to acknowledge the sheer power of the man standing before him. This is Kang Han-su, the man who pulled the Holy Sword Grandel and brought light back to the world. Realizing his mistake, the Demon King tries to conjure a last-ditch spell. He lets loose a massive burst of energy, hoping to end it all right here. The throne room is swallowed by the dark magic, but the Saintess is already on it, raising her staff to call for a holy blessing. Violent explosions rock the castle as the two powers collide. A pillar of golden light pierces through the darkness. The Demon King coughs up blood, his defenses completely shattered. Hansu just looks at him coldly, ready for the final blow. Even at the end, the Demon King tries to talk big, claiming his 5 celestials will destroy everything. He describes them scouring the continent, leaving nothing but fire and ash. He thinks as long as their plan works, he's still won. He hasn't even finished his sentence before Hansu's sword is buried deep in his chest. The hero drops the truth, those subordinates are already dead. The Demon King, looking like bro, got hit in his balls. Hansu doesn't get why being like this would waste time with barbarous humans in the first place. He gives a smug grin. After all, that's just what a hero does. Then reality hits. Hard. A kid named Park Hyun-soo is getting his face bashed in. Cho Gyute is swinging a red foam bat, like he's playing for the major leagues. He explains that a foam bat is perfect because he can beat someone half to death without leaving marks. This is Southern Suseong High, and for a kid like Hyun-soo, life is basically a nightmare. This bat almost hit his sack. Gyute looms over him, leaning on the bat like it's a trophy. He starts mocking Hyun-soo for trying to report him online, holding up a phone with a smug look. It turns out he hijacked the whole thread with a bait post, making Hyun-soo look like a troll. Just then, a teacher walks right past the open door, ignoring everything. Hyun-soo tries to call out for help, thinking this is his chance. The teacher takes one look and decides it's not his problem, walking away while Gyute just laughs. In that moment, Hyun-soo realizes that no one in this school actually gives a damn about him. It's a lawless hierarchy where the strong do whatever they want to the weak. Southern Suseong High is basically the worst school in the district, where violence is part of the routine. After a long day of being a punching bag, Hyun-soo finally limps home under the moonlight. He stands outside his door, dreading the next day already. He can't stop thinking about Gyute demanding money earlier that day. The guy wants 1,000,000 won for gas money, and he's not taking no for an answer. Hyun-soo turns the key, wondering how the hell he's supposed to come up with that kind of cash. He looks at his reflection, relieved that living alone means no one can see how messed up his face is. He cracks his knuckles at his computer, deciding he's not going down without one more fight. He starts typing like his life depends on it, pouring everything into a new report. He lays out exactly what Gyute has been doing, practically begging for help. Suddenly, his screen lights up with notifications as the comments start flooding in. Hyun-soo clenches his teeth, swearing at the trolls who don't have a clue what he's going through. Just then, a user named Mayo leaves a comment with a weird link, claiming to have a solution for school violence. He clicks it immediately, relieved that someone actually seems to be on his side. The page looks like a joke, listing steps to borrow the hero's power, using Hibib Mayo and a magic circle. Hyun-soo is livid, thinking some idiot is just using his trauma to pull a prank or run an ad. He fires back a reply, asking if the poster is going to take a beating in his place since they think it's so funny. The user replies with a straight face, suggesting he just give the bullies the mayo since it's mostly oil anyway. Another person jumps in, claiming some college student in the US actually used mayo as fuel before. Cut to the next day, and Hyun-soo actually tries it handing a bottle of Hibib mayo to a very confused Cho Gyute. Gyute doesn't find it funny at all, nearly taking Hyun-soo's head off with a punch. He grabs the poor kid, demanding to know what kind of brain-dead excuse he's trying to pull. He lands another hit, mocking Hyun-soo for being stupid enough to believe something he read on the internet. Hyun-soo just takes the beating, realizing there's no way out of this hell. He knows the teachers will never help. They'd rather just look the other way and avoid a scene. Even online, no one takes him seriously anymore, leaving him completely and utterly alone. He thinks back to the time he lost his family, the only people who ever truly cared about him. Park Hyun-soo just wants to be a normal kid, but high school has other plans. He's on his knees begging for the torment to stop. Cho Gyute doesn't give a damn, winding up a punch while mocking him for even being born. Suddenly, we get a flashback to the fantasy world, where the Saintess bursts through a door. She immediately lunges for a hug. She's crying, demanding to know how the hero could just leave after everything they've been through. She calls Kang Han-soo every name in the book for trying to walk away. Han-soo looks at his legendary blade, explaining that he's sealing his power now that the demons are gone. He's looking for a hero to succeed him before he moves on. He just wants to go back to being an ordinary man. The Saintess isn't having it, and decides to quit her job too if he's leaving. Hansu's cool facade breaks as she gets way too close for comfort. She promises they'll be together forever. She just has one question: why seal such incredible power? He figures a future hero might need it. Back in the present, Gyute stands over a broken Hyunsu. Hyunsu is face down in the mud, completely exhausted. He traces a star in the dirt, praying for someone to help him. Gyute just laughs and smokes, asking if he's trying to summon a meteor. With nothing left to lose, Hyunsu decides to try that weird Mayo ad ritual. Gyute calls him a lunatic and delivers a heavy kick to the head. But the circle starts to glow with an intense gold light. A massive shockwave erupts, throwing the bullies back. Hyunsu sits up, staring at the energy coming from his own hands. He looks around, thinking for a second that nothing actually happened. But Gyute sees a flowery vision of the hero leaning in for a kiss. Hansu is actually there now, and he looks absolutely disgusted by the scene. He wonders what kind of power of the hero the kid was actually trying to borrow. Gyute snaps out of it, and swings a punch, calling the hero a freak. The hero isn't impressed, seeing the bully as just another demon remnant. He catches Gyute's fist, and starts to squeeze until it cracks. Gyute tries to kick himself free. Hansu catches the leg with his other hand, telling him he's messing with the wrong guy. He lifts the bully up by his ankle, like he weighs nothing. Gyute's brain short-circuits as he realizes he's completely outclassed. Hansu slams him face first into the concrete with a bone-shattering thud. The impact leaves Gyute dazed and bleeding on the ground. The hero looks at the crowd, demanding the caster show themselves. The rest of the gang loses their minds and charges at him. Hyunsu watches from the dirt, his eyes wide with shock. Hansu dives into the mob, tearing through them like a hurricane. Every blow lands with crushing force as Hyunsu finally sees a glimmer of hope. Kang Hansu remembers the Saintess calling him an amazing man. They lean in for a kiss, and it seems like everything is perfect in the world. But reality hits him like a truck, and the hero snaps back to his senses, looking completely dazed. In reality, he's actually got a death grip on Byunhwagu, who's literally crying and begging for his life. Hansu looks down at the terrified bully, while Park Hyunsu watches the scene unfold from the ground. Hyunsu starts thinking that if he can keep summoning this legendary warrior, he can finally clear out every single bully in the school. He's got a super creepy grin on his face, already imagining the total wipeout of his tormentors. The hero just stares back at him, looking a bit confused about the kid's sudden change in attitude. In an instant, he takes out another student he thinks is a demon, while Hyunsu watches in awe. The rooftop is now a graveyard of unconscious punks who never stood a chance. Hyunsu's face is a complete mess of bruises as he confirms that this world is just a regular school, not some fantasy realm. Hansu scratches his head and gives a super awkward apology for hitting him earlier, realizing he made a huge mistake. They both end up leaning against the railing, taking in the view of the surrounding city. The city looks peaceful to Hansu, which is a massive contrast to the chaotic world he calls home. He thinks back to the Saintess, but something about this situation still doesn't feel right to him. The hero decides he needs to find a way back home immediately, and starts walking away. He tries to force open a door, but Hyunsu asks the million-dollar question. Does he even know where he's going? Hyunsu gets down on his knees and begs for a favor, promising to help him find the exit in return. Hansu looks at him like he's grown a second head, surprised by the sudden show of desperation. The kid just wants to survive a day of school without being a human punching bag. He shows the hero a mental image of the literal monsters he has to deal with every day. He explains how they torment the weak students both mentally and physically. He points to the losers on the ground, saying these guys were just a small part of the problem. Hyunsu calls them pure trash, hoping to play on the hero's sense of duty. But Hansu just gives him a flat, no thank you, leaving the poor kid speechless. He recalls how he only fought those guys because they attacked first, and he didn't know the rules. He tells Hyunsu that a real hero protects people hurting others for his own benefit would make him no better than the villains. Hansu grabs the door handle and tells the kid to find another way, because he's done here. Nearby, a group of jerks is messing with a chubby student, having drawn a literal demon on his shirt. The tracksuit bully is laughing his head off at the kid's terrified reaction. Suddenly, Hansu appears right behind the leader, casually asking for directions to the nearest dimensional gate. The bullies are startled, wondering where this weird guy in the cosplay came from. The tracksuit guy isn't a fan of the interruption and tries to punch Hansu's lights out. The hero catches the fist, without even blinking. He realizes that the locals in this world are actually surprisingly violent. The leader starts shouting at him, telling him to take his weird hobby and get lost. Hansu looks over and sees the unknown chubby student trembling on the ground. He notices the massive, dark bruises covering the student's shoulder. A sudden spark of recognition hits the hero as he senses a familiar energy coming from nearby. Without a word, he sprints down the hallway, following the trail. He kicks open the door to the men's bathroom. He He finds a couple of students struggling to pull something out of one of the toilets. Hansu stares at the object in the toilet, asking if it's really him. He flashes back to the legendary holy sword stuck in a stone from his own world. In his eyes, this dirty bathroom plunger is actually his legendary weapon, Grandel. To the hero, the plunger is actually talking back, happy to be reunited in this new world. He holds it up like a sacred relic, convinced that finding it here is pure destiny. He's ready to jump back into action, while Park Hyun-soo just watches from the side, looking totally lost. Meanwhile, Lee Gi-myun is still being a total jerk, screaming at the chubby student for not following orders. He starts to walk away, leaving the poor kid crying on the floor. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes through the bathroom as someone finally makes a move. Lee Gi-myun is fuming, realizing he might have messed with the wrong person again. Hansu steps into the room, and the bully immediately recognizes him as the cosplayer from before. The hero calls out for his sword, and the plunger actually flies into his hand. Before Lee Gi-myun can even react, he gets a face full of plunger, with a wet thud. Hansu starts swinging his holy sword around, proving that even a plunger can be a deadly weapon. Another bully gets the suction cup end stuck right on his face with a loud pop. The guy is terrified as poopy water drips down his face, while Hansu calls them out for acting like demons. The unknown chubby student can't believe his eyes, wondering if this armored guy is actually on his side. Lee Gi-myun recovers and charges in from behind, swinging a heavy metal pipe at Hansu's head. He screams at him to die, putting all his strength into the sneak attack. But Hansu doesn't even turn around, casually blocking the strike with the plunger's handle. The bully's jaw drops, as his metal pipe literally bends in half against the wooden stick. Hansu follows up with a hit that sends Lee Gi-myun flying across the room. Hyun-soo arrives on the scene and is just horrified by the chaos, looking at the hero in shock. The hero stands tall over the piles of defeated punks, looking like he just cleared a dungeon boss. He looks at Hyun-soo and tells him that after seeing how these guys treat people, he's had a change of heart. He offers to wipe out every bully in the school if the kid's original request still stands. Hyun-soo is just trying not to throw up, wondering why the hero is still carrying that gross plunger around. He starts to offer a map of the school, but Hansu says they don't have time for a tour. He explains that in his world they used provoking songs to draw out hidden monsters from their dens. Then he just starts lunging his lungs out, screaming the most personal, savage insults at the top of his voice. Hyun-soo is absolutely losing it, screaming at him to shut up before he gets them both killed. It works like a charm. Every delinquent on the floor is now heading straight for the bathroom. A massive crowd of angry bullies surrounds them, mocking Hansu's ridiculous outfit. Hyun-soo is sweating bullets, praying that this is all part of some master plan he doesn't know about. But the hero just smirks, telling him that the easiest way to take out all the trash is to gather it all in one pile first. The bullies start closing in, eager to stomp the newcomer into the pavement. While Park Hyun-soo is having a complete meltdown, the hero stays perfectly calm. He explains he has two reasons to fight. First, there's someone important he needs to find. Second, as a professional hero, he can't just stand by and ignore a bunch of villains. He prepares his secret move hero style. First sword technique. He unsheathes the plunger, flicking a nasty surprise right at the charging mob. Hyun-soo is horrified when he realizes that wasn't a magic spell, it was just sewage. The bullies get a face full of gross waste, and it's every bit as disgusting as you'd imagine. They scream and call him a coward, but Hansu just tells them to shut up and eat it. He jumps right back into the fray, pointing out that they're the ones relying on numbers. A solid hit to the head leaves one of the guys seeing stars. He starts plowing through the rest of the group like they're nothing. Within seconds, most of the bullies are already scattered across the floor. The hero keeps the momentum going, dropping another lackey with ease. Suddenly, a massive student grabs him from behind. Lim Sang-dong has entered the fight. The other bullies start cheering, convinced that Sang-dong is about to end this. Sang-dong is a tier 1 bully and a wrestling expert, and he's clearly looking for blood. Furious about the insult to his group, he prepares to deliver a devastating German suplex. He locks his arms around Hansu's waist and braces for the throw. But something's wrong. No matter how hard he pulls, the hero doesn't budge an inch. To Sang-dong, it feels like he's trying to lift an entire mountain. The hero decides he's done playing, and slams the wrestler face first into the concrete. The rest of the guys are stunned. Their strongest fighter just got folded in a single move. They immediately lose all their tough guy energy and start hauling it out of there. Hansu turns to Hyun-soo, asking if that was enough of a victory for him. Hyun-soo starts crying, claiming they're just tears of joy because the bullies are gone. Deep down, though, he knows his life at this school is about to get a lot more complicated. Over at the school gate, more bullies are already on the prowl for a hero cosplayer. Hyun-soo peeks around the corner and sees they've already got the place on lockdown. He realizes they're trapped, it's only a matter of time before they're caught. To try and blend in, Hansu swaps his armor for the school's battle uniform. Hyunsu explains that the shiny silver armor was making them way too much of a target. The hero points out that Hyunsu is the one drawing attention with his suspicious acting. Hyunsu is practically vibrating with anxiety, regretting the reckless fight from earlier. He tries to explain how their normal society works, at least outside the school. But inside these walls, things follow a much more brutal social structure. He decides it's time for a quick crash course on the school's hierarchy. He points out the different ranks of students currently hanging around the yard. The victims who get picked on daily, like him, are at the bottom the losers. Then there are the regular bullies, who spend their time tormenting the kids below them. Hansu wonders why they're still hiding if he already defeated a top-tier fighter. Hyunsu explains that the real problem isn't the regular thugs, there's someone much worse. Hyunsu warns that the school is ruled by the 5 top dogs, and they are on a completely different level of power. He tells the hero that no matter how strong he thinks he is, these guys are legitimate monsters. Hansu just gives a thumbs up, declaring he'll just hunt them all down, clearly not taking the threat seriously. Hyunsu shifts the topic, asking why he's still carrying around that filthy plunger. Hansu proudly introduces his holy sword, Grandel, ignoring the flies buzzing around the grime. He admits it feels different from his usual swords, but claims his original power would have ended things in one hit. When Hyunsu offers to buy a replacement, the hero explains that you can't just buy a legendary weapon at a store. They're interrupted by Taikyu, a student from the next class who says he can help them get out. Hyunsu recognizes him, and Hansu is immediately hopeful for a way back home. He asks with wide eyes if Taikyu can actually open a dimensional gate to his world. Taikyu is confused by the dimensional talk, but says he knows a secret exit from the school. He leads them behind some old containers to a quiet, secluded corner of the campus. Hyunsu is surprised, having never realized there was a hidden way out back here. As they arrive, Taikyu pauses to thank the hero for helping him with the bullies earlier. Hansu just smiles and says that saving people is simply what a hero does. Taikyu starts crying and apologizes, his voice full of guilt as they stop walking. Suddenly, a massive crowd of bullies emerges from the shadows, surrounding the duo. A giant student named Lim Hyung appears, patting Taikyu for selling them out in exchange for a month of peace. Lim Hyung is ready for a rematch, mocking the plunger bastard for the trouble he caused his brother. He reveals they've brought enough backup to make sure Hansu doesn't escape this time. Realizing it's a trap, the hero tells Hyunsu to stay back and prepares to fight. He readies his plunger, promising to clear a path so they can both get out safely. But Lim Hyung is lightning fast, catching the hero by the waist before he can swing. The massive top dog lifts him high into the air, telling him to prepare for the end. With overwhelming force, he slams Hansu headfirst into the concrete, shattering the ground. Hyunsu can only watch in pure terror as his only protector is taken down. The hero lies broken in the crater, as Hyunsu screams out in despair. Lee Gimon stands over the hero he just crushed, looking completely unimpressed. He turns his gaze toward the next target, and Park Hyunsu is already shaking. The big guy mocks Hyunsu, asking how a loser like him thinks he can get away with making such a mess. Gimon looms over the boy, asking if he's ready to receive the same treatment as his friend on the ground. A few other bullies hold back the rest of the students, while Hyunsu begs them to stop. Hyunsu reminds him that they had a deal. If he brought the guy who beat his brother, the bullying would end. The top dog ignores the plea and orders all the loser-ranked students to step forward immediately. 3 terrified kids slowly shuffle out of the crowd with their heads down. Gimon towers over them, staring with pure contempt as they tremble in front of him. Without another word, he delivers a massive blow that sends one of the kids spinning. As the student stumbles to stay upright, Gimon demands an answer to his question. His eyes glow with intensity as he asks if he's actually been a bother to them lately. The kid is so scared he manages a fake smile, lying that he actually enjoys these jokes. Satisfied by the fear, Gimon just moves on to the next person in line. He turns back to Hyunsu, asking the same terrifying question with a cold stare. Hyunsu is frozen in place, thinking this guy isn't even human, he's a total demon. Suddenly, Gimon stops and looks up, asking if he bothered the newcomer. The hero, Kang Han-soo, has arrived and is standing right in front of him. Hyunsu can't believe the hero actually showed up right at the perfect moment. Gimon is caught off guard, wondering how this guy is still standing after a direct hit. Han-soo doesn't waste any time and delivers a strike that catches the big guy completely by surprise. He realizes he doesn't even need to verify if this guy's a bully. The evidence is right in front of him. A flurry of blows follows as Han-soo completely overwhelms the top dog. He grabs him by the collar, calling him a disgusting bastard for what he's been doing. Gimon loses it and tries to flip the hero over, screaming that he'll do it as many times as it takes. But he freezes when he realizes he can't move Han-soo an inch. The hero has managed to jam his trusty plunger right onto the guy's forehead. We see a quick flashback where Hyunsoo points out that calling a plunger a holy sword is a bit much. Hansu casually mentions he'll just stick a blade on it later, but Hyunsoo isn't buying it. The hero tells him to watch closely, explaining that the holy sword isn't something just anyone can handle. Hyunsoo tries with everything he's got to pull the plunger off the floor. He feels like a total moron for struggling so much with a piece of bathroom equipment. Hansu explains that if he masters this trick, it'll be the ultimate weapon against the bullies. Back in the fight, Hansu uses the plunger as a handle to toss Gimon around like a ragdoll. The big guy tries to rip the rubber cup off his head, but it's not moving. He's starting to panic, sweating as he wonders why this stupid thing is so stuck. For a split second, the plunger actually looks like a legendary holy blade behind him. The other students start snickering, whispering about how much the thing probably reeks. They start mocking him, saying he can't be that strong if he's getting defeated by a plunger. Gimon puts all his strength into one final pull, desperate to get the thing off. Hansu just keeps the momentum going, making sure the big guy can't get any leverage. Despite all his efforts, the top dog is left struggling with a face full of rubber and zero dignity. Lee Gimon is losing his mind, accusing the hero of using glue to keep that plunger stuck on his head. Hansu doesn't care about the excuses. He delivers a heavy strike that sends the big guy reeling. Watching from the sidelines, Cho Gyute and his lackey are shocked to see their boss getting handled like this. The crowd screams for everyone to jump in and pull the plunger off so they can fight back together. A whole squad of tracksuited bullies starts charging, but Hansu is already one step ahead. He uses the plunger as a handle, swinging the massive Gimon around like a weapon to clear the path. The big guy ends up slumped against the wall, out of commission, while still wearing that rubber cup. Someone's eye wide, with pure terror, as the situation spirals out of control. Chogyute realizes with a shout that all this chaos actually started back when they messed with Sangdong. A younger kid in the crowd screams for his brother to get it together and keep fighting. Hansu grabs the young Cho Gyute by the head, stopping his flashback from continuing. "I'm laughing so hard at this. Aha." He turns to Hyunsoo, telling him to take a good look at the top dog's eyes right now. He explains that even intelligent demons get this exact hollow look in their eyes right before they're finished. Without any hesitation, he slams the guy's face right into the pavement one last time. The bullies are left face down in the dirt, the plunger standing tall as a trophy of their defeat. Hansu casually looks toward his next opponent and asks who's left on the list. Gyute's lackey is sweating bullets, barely able to believe the reinforcement report he's hearing. A massive silhouette of students starts approaching from across the courtyard, signaling more trouble. The school's elite leaders finally show their faces, each one looking more dangerous than the last. The crowd erupts in panic as the word spreads like wildfire. The top dogs have officially arrived. A student is just chilling, smoking at the scene, liking Manhwa Infinite's latest video. Suddenly, a guy with silver hair and a mask shows up and demands he put it out. Meet Byunhwa-gu, the Tier 4 top dog of Southern Suseong High, and he looks like he's in a terrible mood. The student immediately bows and apologizes, while Hwa-gu and his crew walk away without a second glance. Su Songman, a guy with headphones, notices Hwa-gu seems extra sensitive today. Hwa-gu snaps back that he's just annoyed some weird bastard is causing trouble in the school. He looks down at the literal hallway full of bodies that someone just cleared out. To see how this happened, we have to jump back 5 minutes. The bandaged delinquent they beat up earlier is laughing, telling them they're dead meat once the others arrive. A plunger slams right into his forehead mid-laugh. Kang Han-soo tells him he's the one who's actually done for, as he stands over him with his weapon of choice. He turns to Park Hyun-soo and explains that he heard more bullies are on the way. Hyun-soo is absolutely losing it, shaking like a leaf at the thought of facing them. He asks where that secret exit was that Han-soo mentioned. Hyun-soo points to the massive hole Han-soo punched in the wall earlier, realizing that's the only way out. Hyun-soo tries to tell himself to stay calm and not panic. He knows the Tier 1 top dog is a total monster that even Han-soo might struggle to beat. Han-soo isn't worried at all. He just plans on flattening everyone who gets in his way. Hyun-soo points out all the other students who are also victims of these bullies. He asks who's going to protect these lambs if Han-soo just keeps fighting for himself. He tells him that protecting people is what being a hero is actually about. Han-soo pauses, looking at his plunger as he thinks about what it means to be a hero. He recalls a strategy from fighting demons. First, you secure an escape route for the weak. He actually agrees to follow Hyun-soo's lead this time. He asks if there's an escape route in mind, and Hyun-soo reminds him about the hole in the wall. A whole mob of bullies shows up to block them, thinking they've got them trapped. They're shouting that they just need to hold their ground until the top dogs arrive to finish them off. Hyun-soo panics, realizing they're running out of time to make a break for it. Hansu tells everyone to follow him and charges straight into the bully line. He starts swinging his plunger, clearing a path through the crowd with pure force. Back in the present, Soo-song-man and the others are surveying the aftermath of the beatdown. He's looking at his phone, trying to figure out who could have done this, since none of the nearby schools would bother. This is the Tier 3 transport supervisor, and he seems to find the whole situation pretty amusing. Lee Gimon, the Tier 2 logistics supervisor, shows up in a green mask and asks if these were Hwagu's guys. He's clearly not impressed with the mess that was left behind. He tells Hwagu that if he wanted to beat someone up, he would have started with him first. The other students are terrified, realizing the hierarchy of monsters they're standing in front of. A voice tells them, "That's enough," and everyone immediately stops as a blonde student approaches. He crouches over the bandaged student, saying they shouldn't be fighting amongst themselves. He asks for info on the bastard responsible, and is told that everyone is calling him the hero. The blonde student's eye starts glowing with a strange, familiar symbol as he hears that name. Meanwhile, Hansu and Hyunsu have made it outside, and Hansu is completely baffled by the silent carriages zooming past them. Kang Hansu is still struggling with local terms, wondering what a minor even is. Nearby, a man on a phone reports to his boss. He mentions seeing a strange light at the school, and tells his boss that he's found the person they were searching for. Hansu turns back to Park Hyunsu, and asks if there were any powerful demons in this world before he arrived. He starts talking about his past battles against the Demon King and his 5 subordinates, the 5 Celestials. Hyunsu is shocked to hear about these beings and asks if Hansu really defeated all of them. Hansu confirms it but warns that demons are hard to kill for good, which is why he's in such a rush to get home. They finally reach the apartment complex, which Hansu mistakes for a massive fortress. He's impressed by the huge castle, but Hyunsu has to clarify that they only live in one part of it. A sudden flash of light blinds them, cutting their conversation short. It's Hwagu, charging at them on a motorcycle while brandishing a baseball bat. Hansu doesn't even blink, using the shaft of his plunger to block the high-speed strike with sparks flying. With one smooth motion, he redirects the momentum and sends Hwagu and his bike spinning out of control. Hwagu isn't alone though. He's brought a whole squad of bikers to back him up. This Tier 4 top dog looks completely unhinged as he glares at them from under his mask. Hansu asks if this guy is just another local bully, and a terrified Hyunsu confirms he's a major threat. Hwagu revs his engine and charges again, refusing to stay down after the first hit. He shouts that he's done waiting, and wants to settle this entire thing right here and now. Hansu stands ready with his plunger as the bike roars toward him at full speed. A massive impact shakes the street as the motorcycle slams into the side of a parked truck. The rest of the gang pulls up, looking at the smoke and wreckage of their failed ambush. Hwagu is left writhing on the ground, his bike completely destroyed by the crash. The thugs look up and see a figure sitting on top of the truck, laughing at the chaos below. The mood shifts instantly as they realize exactly who is watching them. This is the man at the top of the food chain, the blonde boss. Hansu ignores him for a second to check on Hyunsu and make sure he wasn't hurt. From his perch, the blonde boss starts laughing at Hansu's attempt to play the hero. He mocks him, calling his actions disgusting hero play and asking if he's really still at it. He looks down with a cold grin, one of his eyes glowing with a mysterious blue symbol. He pulls his hair back and asks Hansu if he finally remembers who he is. Hansu freezes as the boss reveals both of his glowing eyes, realizing his past has finally caught up to him. An ad for mayonnaise? Someone's really trying to sell this stuff hard. It's Habib mayonnaise! The guy in the commercial looks pretty confident about his secret recipe. A delivery driver watches the ad on his phone, not looking too thrilled about his day. He can't believe a simple condiment took over the culinary world. Life really is full of surprises. He's got a job to finish, but something outside catches his eye. There's a standoff in the middle of the street. The red-haired hero and a blonde guy are squaring off while a crowd of delinquents watches. The hero steps back and gives a polite apology, surprisingly humble for someone with a plunger. The blonde guy, Lee Gimon, just smirks. He's not buying the innocent act. The hero tries to explain something about another hero with the same name, but Lee Ji-myun doesn't care. Suddenly, Lee Ji-myun lunges forward with a strike that catches the hero off guard. He grabs the hero's hands, locking him in place. The hero is stunned by the guy's speed and strength. Lee Ji-myun laughs. He doesn't care if the hero remembers him or not. He delivers a powerful kick right to the hero's gut. His eyes glow with an eerie blue light as he declares he's going to finish this. The hero looks back at Park Hyunsu, asking if this guy is just another bully. Lee Gi-myun is the top dog of this territory, and he's not someone to be messed with. He orders his underlings to make sure they aren't interrupted. Park Hyun-soo watches from the sidelines, sweating bullets as the mob closes in. The mob surrounds them, bats and pipes ready for a beatdown. Hyun-soo realizes they're trapped. There's nowhere to run. The hero calmly tells him to leave. He's not running away from a fight. He grips his plunger. He knows Lee Gi-myun is on a different level from the usual thugs. Lee Gi-myun has a dangerous aura, something the hero recognizes from his past. He readies himself, his sandals sliding against the pavement. Lee Gi-myun strikes first, his kicks creating a blur of motion. The hero parries, but the sheer force nearly knocks him back. A kick grazes his face, drawing blood. In the chaos, Lee Gi-myun grabs the hero's jacket, pulling it over his head. The hero is momentarily blinded, his own clothes turned against him. Lee Gi-myun mocks the hero's holy sword, finding the whole thing pathetic. He rips the jacket away, preparing for a finishing blow. The hero's face is contorted in a weird grimace shake as he's tossed around. The plunger sucks on the ground to keep him from getting tossed even further. Lee Gi-myun isn't done. He's timing his next move for the perfect strike. He goes for the eyes, trying to cut off the hero's line of sight, but the hero uses the momentum to launch a counter of his own. His eyes glow with power. He won't give the bully another second to attack. He ducks under a kick and delivers a strike that Lee Gi-myun didn't see coming. The hero's movement is too fast for the delinquents to follow. He lands a devastating hit, sending the top dog crashing down. The crowd can only watch in shock as their leader is taken out. Lee Gi-myun mocks the hero, calling him a retard and laughing at his high school hero act. A bully in a blue tracksuit tries to jump him, but the hero hits him first with a loud thud. "Shut up, bully," he says, slamming his plunger handle into another guy's face. "If you don't want this to happen to you, you should hit the like button." One of the thugs is sent flying through the air, screaming as the hero launches him with his makeshift weapon. Lee Gi-myun watches with a smirk as his underling cries out to his mother about his sinful life. A foot slams down hard, crushing whatever's beneath it. Lee Gi-myun mocks the hero's fighting style, asking if he's really a hero just for throwing people around. The hero doesn't care about the insults. He swings his plunger and takes out a whole motorcycle in one go. A massive explosion of energy erupts as the plunger hits the ground, sending shockwaves through the street. The hero glares at Lee Gi-myun, declaring that men like him are barely even human. He finds himself suddenly tangled in heavy chains, but he asks what's wrong with his way of fighting. To him, the conflict between good and evil is an unchangeable law, no matter where he goes. Lee Gi-myun pulls on the chains, enjoying the struggle of his opponent. He stands over the hero, casually asking if they should call it a day. The hero is clearly pushed to his limit, panting heavily as the exhaustion sets in. Lee Gi-myun hops onto his bike, deciding he's seen enough for now. He laughs at the hero's passion, his blue eyes glowing with a sinister light. He promises that next time, he'll be the one to get rid of the red-haired pest for good. As the engine revs, Lee Gi-myun's gaze remains fixed on his target from the shadows. Park Hyun-soo rushes to help the hero, who is still swearing to hunt down every last bully. The hero's eye glows with a cold, righteous fury he won't stop until they're all exterminated. Lee Gi-myun finds the hero's talk of justice hilarious, wondering if he really thinks he can do it alone. The gang revs their engines and peels off, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Lee Gi-myun warns him that his face is already being sent to every bully in the area. He's made the entire city his enemy. He leaves the hero with one final threat. He'll die by his hands. The adrenaline wears off, and the hero collapses into Hyun-soo's arms. He lets out a weak laugh, admitting to his friend that he's actually pretty tired. He explains that since he landed in this world, he hasn't had a single second to rest, and his body is falling apart. Hyun-soo listens in silence, worried about his strange new friend. It's only been one day, but for the hero, it's felt like an eternity under the moonlight. Meanwhile, Lee Gi-myun and his gang are cruising through the city streets. He checks in with someone through his earpiece, confirming that he's made contact with the hero. He knows there's no rush. The guy has to show up at school eventually anyway. On the other end of the line, a dark silhouette laughs at the idea of a hero appearing in their school. Lee Gi-myun's expression turns cruel. He's determined to show the hero that no one can be protected in their world. Back at the scene, the hero is already dead to the world, fast asleep with a massive snot bubble. A memory plays in his head. The hero is back in his element, standing on a volcanic battlefield against a massive army of demons. He's out of breath and battered, admitting he didn't expect the enemy to be this organized or numerous. Just as things look grim, a saintess calls out to him, telling him to stay focused. She reminds him that while the task is impossible for one person, he's got his comrades right beside him. Hibib the mage steps in too, telling the hero to have a little faith in his magic. Even Daein, the luggage carrier, is there to take the load off his shoulders so he can fight. Feeling the support of his team, he grips his sword with a determined look. He declares he's going to smash through the front line and charges into the fray. His blade clashes against a massive beast, sending sparks flying in a display of pure power. A glowing-eyed demon taunts him, asking if he realizes he's actually in a dream right now. He tells the monster to shut up and keeps pushing forward, refusing to let the nightmare win. He's convinced that with his friends by his side, he can make the impossible happen. But then the demon's face starts distorting, and it tells him that's not what it meant at all. Suddenly, the hero is being violently shaken awake by Park Hyun-soo, who's screaming that they're late. He sits up in bed, drooling and completely lost. The epic war was just a nap. Meanwhile, outside near the school fence, someone is stirring a bucket of cement. It's Cho Gyu-tae, looking pathetic with bandages and bruises all over his face. He's been assigned to fix the massive hole in the wall, though he's pretty sure this isn't going to work. He's bitter about the whole thing, wondering why a bully of his status is doing loser work. He gets called into a back room by his gang, looking like a man walking to his own funeral. One of them is busy playing a racing game on his phone while asking about the guy from the rooftop. They want to know the details of how he actually managed to lose that fight. Gyu-tae starts explaining how light poured out of mayonnaise and the guy kissed him on the cheek. The other bullies just stare at him, wondering if he is being as real as Madrid. Was that funny, guys? One of the big guys loses his patience and starts winding up a massive punch. He tells the others not to kill him yet, since they still need him to fix that wall. Gyu-tae takes the beating, sobbing that he was only telling the truth. Back at the wall, he slams his trowel down, completely fed up with everything. He screams out in frustration, blaming the hero for ruining his entire life. He vows to make the guy crawl on the ground if they ever cross paths again. Right as the words leave his mouth, the hero literally starts crawling through the hole he's fixing. Hyun-soo is right behind him, and Gyu-tae lets out a high-pitched scream of terror. The hero stands up with his plunger and casually notes that the bully's name is Gyu-tae. Terrified, Gyu-tae covers his face and asks if they're still going to mess with him. He does a complete 180, kneeling down and claiming he's a brand new man who's turned over a new leaf. He even begs Hyun-soo for forgiveness, trying to apologize for everything he's done until now. Hyun-soo isn't buying the act and lands a massive slap that sends the guy spinning. While Gyu-tae sits there crying into his hand, Hyun-soo tells the hero that one apology doesn't fix a thing. As they look back at the school, Hyun-soo asks what the plan is now that they're back. He warns that if they just rush in, they'll get surrounded by the whole gang like yesterday. A visual of a smirking top dog reminds them that the school is run by some truly dangerous people. The hero agrees. Going in blindly is a death wish. They need a real strategy. The hero realizes he totally underestimated the bullies. They're way more organized than he thought. It reminds him of his early days as a warrior, back when he first started fighting off demon hordes with his party. He tells Park Hyun-soo that for this mission, they need two specific things: intel and teammates. Hyun-soo looks genuinely stunned by the hero's sudden strategic mindset. He pushes up his glasses with a smirk, asking if it's finally time for some special training. The hero can't help but find Hyun-soo's enthusiasm pretty interesting as they get ready to move. Suddenly, Cho Gyu-tae pipes up, offering to join them and claiming he'll actually be useful. The guy looks like he just got the beating of his life, but he's desperate to stay on their good side. The hero decides they should take their time finding real allies and focus on gathering intel first. Gyu-tae tries to crawl away while they're distracted, hoping he can just disappear. But Hyun-soo isn't letting him off that easy, patting his head and asking for a little favor. They look down at the school parking lot, which is currently packed with massive delivery trucks. A bunch of students are being forced to load boxes while a bully barks orders at them. He screams that they need to finish the job before the next class starts if they ever want to go home. He suddenly stops a kid carrying a bright orange Hermes box, wanting to know what's inside. The student holds on to the luxury brand box, clearly terrified. The bully snatches it away with a smug look on his face. He laughs to himself, saying, "This work has its perks," and he's curious to see what they've got today. Gyu-tae leads the hero and Hyun-soo over, introducing them as some new workers. Both of them are wearing masks and glasses to hide their faces, and Gyu-tae lies saying they've got a bad cold. The bully doesn't seem to care as long as they don't slow down the workflow or infect everyone else. He tells them to quit standing around and get to work immediately. Once they're clear, Hyun-soo lets out a breath of relief, thankful the masks worked. Gyu-tae tells them to start moving the boxes toward the school basement. He looks like he's about to cry, telling them to just leave him alone once this is done. The hero is confused, asking Hyun-soo why they're at a loading dock when he wanted to learn about the school. They step into a truck full of cargo, and Hyun-soo explains that the school is basically a front for a freight company. To the public, it looks like a vocational program where students earn some extra cash. But the truth is, it's just a massive labor exploitation ring run by the school's elites. The losers of the school are forced to do all the heavy lifting for free between their classes. The hero is disgusted, seeing this as no different from demons enslaving humans for labor. Hyun-soo tells him to head down and catch the items while he starts pulling the load out of the truck. As the hero moves to help, his holy sword plunger accidentally slips and falls to the ground. He panics, reaching out for his weapon as it rolls away into the distance. Lee Ji-myun, sitting nearby on a bench, picks it up, looking completely unfazed. He stares at the plunger, wondering what a student would even be doing with one at school. He gives the hero a long, blank look from under that strange green mask. Without saying much, Lee Ji-myun reaches out and hands the plunger back. The hero is surprised but accepts it with a quick thank you, and the guy just tells him to take it. Hyun-soo comes running back, demanding to know where the hero wandered off to. He says they need to keep moving the boxes to the basement, but the hero seems distracted. He looks back at the school, wondering how the teachers could possibly be okay with all of this. A teacher suddenly appears, but he isn't there to stop the exploitation, he's just there to demand his cut. He yells at the bully in charge, making it clear that money should be his #1 priority. The bully doesn't even flinch, pulling out a thick white envelope and handing it over like it's a routine transaction. The teacher accepts the bribe with a smirk, telling the bully to just be more discreet next time. One of the exhausted students tries to speak up, reminding the teacher that they're supposed to be in class right now. But the teacher just brushes it off, telling the kid that self-study is a waste of time and they should be happy to be making some cash. He walks off with a spring in his step, claiming that hard labor is just another form of education that will help them later in life. Watching this blatant corruption from behind their masks, the hero and Hyun-soo realize the problem goes much deeper than just a few bullies. It's clear that the entire system is fueled by greed, and money is at the center of everything. As they carry their boxes deeper into the building, Hyun-soo reveals that there's one person at the top who profits from all of this. He mentions Choi Jin-sung, a Tier 1 top dog who supposedly controls all the money flowing through the school. The hero is still thinking about the mysterious student who returned his plunger, wondering how the guy knew it was actually his holy sword. Hyun-soo agrees that they need to investigate that student as well, since he seems to know far more than he's letting on. Suddenly, a voice from the shadows behind them chimes in, agreeing that an investigation is a great idea. Both of them freeze as a figure calls them out for sneaking in like rats, and he focuses his gaze directly on the hero. Emerging from the dark is Soo Song-man, a Tier 3 top dog and the supervisor of the school's transport operation, and he seems to know exactly who they are. Flashback to the park. One kid is playing with his toy cars when another one wanders over, asking if they all belong to him. The second kid looks pretty nervous as he apologizes for touching the toys without asking. He admits he was just really jealous, but the other kid just says no. Then he breaks into a huge grin and tells him it's fine and they should just play together. Cut to the present and it's a lot less friendly. Someone hits the floor hard, knocking over boxes in a dimly lit hallway. The hero, Kang Han-soo, stands ready with Park Hyun-soo, confirming they've found their target. The hero points out that this guy is actually one of the school's top dogs. He doesn't waste any time, lunging forward with his trusty plunger raised high. A sudden strike sends the guy with the headphones flying backward in total shock. The guy, a cowardly lackey, scrambles back, wondering why the hell he's being attacked out of nowhere. The hero stops and stares, looking a little surprised by how weak his opponent actually is. Even Hyun-soo is confused, asking if this pathetic guy is really supposed to be a top dog. The hero asks him straight up if he's saying he never wanted to be a bully in the first place. The headphone lackey admits he doesn't even have the strength for it, just sitting there looking defeated. When the hero demands he swear on his parents' lives that he's not lying, the guy casually mentions they're both dead, making everything incredibly awkward. The lackey decides to just give them the information they want to avoid any more trouble. He shows them a file on Choi Jin-sung, the rank 1 top dog, who basically runs the place. Apparently, Jin-sung showed up at the school 3 months ago and wasted no time making his power known. Flashback shows him barging into an administrator's office and slamming his foot down on the desk. He looked down at the official, asking if he was the one in charge of the school. Jin-sung's eyes glowed with a menacing blue light as he said they needed to have a talk. By the next day, everyone was talking about the mysterious transfer student. Jin-sung just strolled through the halls like he already owned the place. It didn't take long for him to prove it, and soon, there was no one left who could stand against him. He beat down anyone who got in his way, making sure everyone knew the new hierarchy. The headphone lackey admits he was only given his rank because he's the grandson of the chairman. He tells the hero That's basically all the info he has for the moment. The hero stays silent, taking it all in while Hyun-soo watches him. Suddenly, the lackey extends a hand and asks the hero to team up with him. He says he wants to erase every bully from the school and start fresh. He points out that since the rank 4 and 5 guys are currently in the hospital, now is their best chance. He's got a whole plan mapped out to take down rank 2 and then rank 1. Hyun-soo looks over at the hero, waiting to see if he'll take the bait. But the hero just shuts him down, saying he has no interest in a partnership. The guy is stunned, asking if the hero really thinks he can take them all on alone. The hero knows exactly what kind of person he's dealing with. He wasn't about to let himself be used. He decides they should just keep an eye on him for now and see what happens. Hyun-soo is worried, reminding him that he mentioned needing allies just a little while ago. The hero admits that even though he's a hero, he doesn't have any personal grudge against these school bullies. He grips his weapon tight, explaining that he only fights because he can't stand to hear innocent victims suffer. To him, teaming up with someone evil just to beat another evil isn't justice, it's just more of the same. Besides, he adds with a frown, there's just something about that guy that smells fishy. The headphone guy looks down at his toy car, but there's a dark shadow over him. The hero's intuition was right, it's not just a metaphorical smell. The toy car is stained with actual blood. This guy isn't just some chairman's grandson, he's got a much darker history than he's letting on. A glimpse into his past shows him as a kid, covered in blood and standing over a victim. The hero can sense that this top dog has killed before. Leaving that creep behind, the hero and Park Hyun-soo walk away. Teaming up with someone like that would be a death sentence in the long run. The hero tells his companion that for now, they're better off sticking together as a duo. He doesn't trust anyone else in this school. Watching the hero's back, Hyun-soo realizes he misjudged him. He thought the hero was just a meathead who could fight, but it turns out he's thinking 10 steps ahead. Hyun-soo asks what's next on the agenda. The hero doesn't even hesitate, he's got more fighting to do. The school grounds are busy, but they're seriously lacking in both manpower and information. The hero decides they need to start small. He spots some trucks being loaded up and figures that's the perfect place to start cleaning up. Down by the trucks, the bullies are hard at work moving boxes, with no idea they're being watched. Hyun-soo points out a slight problem. They're not exactly in disguise. The hero just gives a deadpan oh dear as they realize they've been spotted. One of the bullies recognizes the hero bastard immediately and rallies the group to take him down. The hero springs into action, his plunger becoming a blur, as he starts swatting bullies away like flies. As the main truck starts to pull away, the hero shouts for Hyun-soo to follow it. Suddenly, Hyun-soo pulls up on a scooter, fully geared up with a helmet. He tells the hero to hop on, and the timing couldn't be better. The hero is genuinely impressed, wondering when Hyun-soo learned to ride like a pro. Hyun-soo just tells him to stop talking and get on. They tear off after the truck, weaving through the panicking bullies left behind in the dust. The hero stands up on the back of the scooter, swinging his plunger with lethal precision as they speed through the crowd. It's total chaos as bullies are sent flying left and right by the charging duo. Hyun-soo revs the engine, telling the hero to hold on tight as they kick it into high gear to catch that truck. Hyun-soo is impressed by his own driving skills, while the hero holds on for dear life. He thinks back to his days as a delivery guy, when customers would yell at him for the food getting cold. But those days are over. The hero spots their target and points them in the right direction. Hyun-soo guns the engine, pushing the scooter to its absolute limit. The bullies on the motorcycle aren't impressed, shouting insults as they catch up. One of them swings a pipe, trying to knock our guys right off the road. Another bike pulls up on the other side, ready to join the fight. But the hero is faster. He swings his weapon and shuts them down mid-chase. He tells Hyun-soo to keep driving and leave the rest of these punks to him. He leaps off the back of the moving scooter with total confidence. The hero lands perfectly and deals with the bikers, while Hyun-soo keeps speeding away. Meanwhile, in a quiet office, the blonde boss is busy working when a lackey enters. The boss is clearly annoyed. He told everyone not to bother him while he's busy. The headphone lackey reports that the hero was seen following one of their trucks. He's sure that Lee Gimon will be there, and they can finally finish the hero off. But the boss just tells him to leave them alone for now. He warns the lackey that this is the last time he'll overlook a mistake, his eyes glowing blue. The lackey gets out of there fast, leaning against the door to catch his breath. A bodyguard asks if they should go and clear out the kids causing trouble. The lackey just shakes his head. He's not looking for any more trouble today. He decides to stick to the original plan and head out. Back with our duo, they're closing in on where the hero thinks the headquarters is. Hyun-soo is getting nervous. He's expecting a major battle at the enemy's base. He tells himself to stay focused and keep his guard up, no matter what. But instead of a gang of thugs, they're greeted by a group of happy little kids. Hyunsu is completely thrown off. These definitely don't look like bullies. It turns out, the place they were tracking is just a local nursery school. A curious little girl walks over to see who the new arrivals are. She asks the hero if he's a friend of the director or one of the older boys. The hero kneels down and introduces himself as, well, Hero. He gives her a friendly pat on the head to be nice. The girl immediately starts bawling her eyes out. She screams that he touched her hair with the same hand he was using to hold a dirty plunger. She calls out for her oppa, just as a motorcycle roars into the courtyard. It's Lee Gi-myun, and he looks like he's ready for a fight. Hyunsu can't believe it. The girl was actually talking about one of the school's top fighters. The hero assumes Gi-myun is here to repay the grace from their last meeting. Gi-myun doesn't waste any time and launches a high kick straight at his head. The hero dodges just in time as Gi-myun confirms that he definitely remembers him. Gi-myun keeps the pressure on, asking if the hero really thought of him as an ally. The hero dodges a powerful kick, the force of the impact shaking the ground. He tries to stop the fight, shouting that the whole thing is just a big misunderstanding. The hero tightens his grip, realizing Gi-myun is the type to only care about his own people while stepping on everyone else. He swings his plunger staff with everything he's got, calling Gi-myun out for being nothing but a dirty bully. Hyunsu panics from the sidelines, warning the hero to watch out for Gi-myun's lethal kicks and try to close the distance. He realizes with horror that the little girl is watching the whole brutal scene unfold. But the kid isn't scared. Her eyes light up as she realizes what's happening. She runs off to tell the other orphans that a real-life fight is going down in the courtyard. The news spreads like wildfire, and the kids come sprinting out to see the action. They gather around and start cheering for their big brother Gi-myun to crush the red-haired villain. Seeing the kids cheering, Hyunsu joins in, yelling for the hero to show them who's really the boss. But the kids don't want to hear it. They swarm Hyunsu, declaring him the villain's accomplice and taking him to the ground. Gi-myun stares the hero down, disgusted that he'd bring his schoolyard power struggle to a place full of innocent children. The hero tries to explain it's all a mistake, but he can't help pointing out that Gi-myun is a top dog delinquent himself. Gi-myun has heard enough and launches himself into the air for another devastating kick. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms over them, and a voice booms out, asking what the hell they think they're doing. A clenched fist signals that someone is seriously pissed off about the example they're setting for the kids. In a flash, both fighters are slammed into the dirt by a force neither of them saw coming. The director stands over them like a stone wall as the children cheer for their true winner. He sighs, looking down at the two punks, who clearly need a lesson in basic manners. A pack of bikers led by Byun-hwa-gu pulls up near the hill. He thinks the location is perfect for setting up a warehouse. He notices the Hope Orphanage nearby. He's heard some old man is the one looking after all the kids there. He figures the guy is probably just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. Choi Jin-sung isn't as sentimental. He's already looked into it and confirmed the old man has no family to come to his defense. Byun-hwa-gu looks over the place. It's a bit run down, but he thinks they can make it work. Jin-sung hands over a file. They found something useful about one of the kids living there. A strange blue light flickers in his eyes as he stares at the photo of Lee Gi-myun. Back at the orphanage in the present, the director is serving tea. He tells everyone to drink up so they can finally relax. The hero and Gi-myun aren't in the mood for tea. Gi-myun is losing it, asking why they're even letting this guy hang around. The director has a very direct way of dealing with complaints. He grabs both of them and slams their heads into the table. Park Hyun-soo watches from the side, sweating. He's starting to realize that Grandpa might actually be the most violent guy in the building. Choi Gapsu stands over them with his arms crossed. He's got zero tolerance for punks who think they can bully the weak. Gi-myun looks up, dazed. The director actually defends him, calling him a kind kid. He points out how happy the other kids are, playing with their toys and eating well. He turns to Gi-myun and asks him to share his story with the group. Instead of talking, the boy bolts out of the room and runs away. The old man just coughs it off. He claims Gi-myun has always been pretty shy. The hero isn't buying the shy act. He thinks they need to catch him before he starts bullying people outside. Choi Gap-soo stops him, saying they've got the wrong idea. He looks out at the kids playing together. In this orphanage, nobody has a biological family left. It's just a group of kids who were either abandoned or never had parents at all, and Gi-myun is no different. The director explains that even without blood relatives, the boy isn't totally alone. To Gi-myun, the orphanage and everyone in it is the only family he's ever known. Years ago, he was always the odd one out, sitting alone while the other kids played. The other kids would gossip about the new kid whose uncle just dropped him off. One boy tried to be friendly and invited him to join their game, but young Gi-myun wasn't interested. He just glared and told him to piss off. The other boy was completely stunned by the hostility. The kids ran off crying, calling him mean and promising to get back at him. The director told the boy he really should try to make some friends. But then, the old man just burst out laughing, joking that now all the kids were officially scared of him. Gimon didn't find it funny. He stood up and bolted out the door. He was fuming, convinced that the other kids were just being fake and didn't actually like him. He sprinted deep into the woods to get away from everyone. Eventually, he sat down in the dark. His stomach started growling, and reality set in. He realized he was starving, and started looking around for anything to eat. Suddenly, a massive, terrifying deer with glowing eyes lunged out of the darkness. He screamed and tried to run, but he ended up tripping over a fallen log. He landed hard and clutched his ankle in pain. He tried to limp his way back using a stick, feeling lost and alone. A rustle in the trees made him freeze. He was terrified that weird deer had come back. But it wasn't the deer. The director stepped out of the shadows, looking relieved to have finally found him. The director crouches down, looking worriedly at the boy. He asks Gimon if he has any idea how long they've been searching the woods for him. He quickly checks the kid's injury. He can tell right away that it's a bad ankle twist and he won't be able to walk on it. Without a second thought, Choi Gap-soo offers his back. He tells the boy to hop on so they can get home before the night gets any colder. The director carries the small boy through the dark forest, his steps heavy but steady. Gimon looks down and notices something. He points out that the old man's own leg is bleeding from a deep scratch. The boy tries to explain what happened, telling him about the strange and terrifying deer he ran into earlier. The old man just gives a tired but relieved smile as they finally reach the orphanage gates. He tells the kid that they're home now. The other children come running out immediately. They're thrilled to see their headmaster back safely with Gimon. They swarm the two of them, asking a million questions about where they were and if they're all right. Gimon stands there silently, feeling a bit overwhelmed. One of the boys comes up and apologizes for making him mad earlier. The tension finally breaks. The other kids aren't angry anymore. They just want to know how he plays with his robot toys. Suddenly, everyone is eager to be his friend. They all start shouting at once, wanting to be the one to show him around. For the first time, the heavy doors of Gimon's heart start to open up, letting the world in. Seasons pass by in a blur. He watches as some of his old friends get adopted and move on to new lives. But for every friend that leaves, a new one arrives. The director eventually introduces him to a tiny baby girl named Haeun. Years fly by, and the lonely little boy grows into a tall, capable young man. One day, he sees little Haeun running up to a blonde stranger, calling him Oppa with a big smile. That was the day he met the person who would change everything. The blonde man looks at him with a chilling blue glow in his eyes. The blonde visitor finishes his business and heads out, leaving the orphanage behind. The director tells Gimon that the man was there to buy the land they're standing on. Gimon listens as the old man explains he turned the offer down to keep the children together. But the peace didn't last long. Trouble started showing up the very next day. Gimon tried to stay out of it at first, letting the strangers be. Eventually, a line was crossed that he couldn't ignore. Gimon rushed into the building, frantic and calling out for little Haeun. He found the director already looking after the girl, who was surrounded by the other kids. He heard that a kid from his own school had burned her leg with a cigarette while holding a doll. Gimon decided it was time to establish some rules and settle the score. He cornered the bullies right in their hangout, his shadow looming over them. He made it clear that the orphanage wasn't a place where they could just act however they wanted. The lead bully realized they'd messed with the wrong guy for the wrong reason. Gimon unleashed his rage, landing a punch that sent the guy's head snapping back. He completely lost control, trashing the room and anyone left standing. But in the middle of the beatdown, the director appeared at the door. The old man was absolutely horrified to see Gimon covered in blood. Gimon froze, realizing in that moment that everything was about to fall apart. This fraud set all this up. Like the video so we can take this man down. The director was struggling with the burden, and Gimon felt responsible. It was too much money for a regular high school student to ever pay back. As the director walked away in despair, Gimon's eye caught a familiar figure. The blonde boss from before returned, telling him he could be useful. He offered Gimon a job, and with no other options, Gimon felt he had to say yes. He felt powerless, trapped by the weight of what he'd done. He shook on the deal, but only after making the man promise to never touch the orphanage again. He even made it part of the deal that he could keep coming back to help the kids. And that's how he officially joined the top dogs. Back in the present, the director surprises him with a silly face. Gimon, wearing a goofy green mask, sits down for a chat with the old man. The director asks if the rumors about him being a bully to weak kids are true. Gimon stands up, promising that his only fights are to keep the orphanage safe. The director tells him not to sweat the rumors, as long as his heart is in the right place. Gimon heads off, saying he needs to go do some shopping. He tells the director to make sure he looks after the kids while he's gone. He walks away, content that he's doing the right thing for his family. Suddenly, a blue monster pops up, begging the children for its life. It's Gimon in a suit, playing along as the kids swarm him. The little heroes show no mercy, laying into the evil beast with their toy weapons. Then, a red monster joins in, claiming to be the real hero of the day. The kids aren't having it, laughing at a hero who doesn't even have a sword. They immediately shift their focus and charge right at the newcomer. Gimon cuts the fun short, telling the monster in the red suit to stop. The guy in the costume asks if he's with them, but Gimon just wants to talk seriously. He turns to the hero and Hyun-soo, telling them it's time to head back. The hero laughs it off, claiming Gimon is just jealous of how much fun they're having with the kids. Gimon isn't interested in the banter, stating they don't have any reason to stay here. But the hero disagrees, insisting there's still unfinished business between them. He brings up Gimon's past, revealing he knows about his history with the Suseong High bullies. Gimon is caught off guard by how much they actually know. The hero cuts to the chase and asks Gimon to join forces to take down Choi Jin-sung. This triggers a memory of the blonde recruiter who first brought Gimon into the world of bullies. Hyun-soo admits he's not a fan of the guys Gimon works for, but Gimon says he only does it for the orphanage. He defends his choices, saying he doesn't see anything wrong with what they're doing for his home. He points out how the kids are happy, and the orphanage's money troubles are a thing of the past. Then he gives a grim warning. Choi Jin-sung isn't someone they can beat. He's a complete monster. His final advice is for them to just give up while they're still ahead. Realizing they've reached an impasse, the hero turns to leave with Hyun-soo. He stops one last time, telling Gimon to keep one thing in the back of his mind. He warns that the next time they meet, they'll be facing each other as enemies. Gimon watches them go, his expression hardening behind the green mask. The hero and Hyun-soo climb onto their scooter and ride away from the orphanage. Hyun-soo asks if he was actually serious about recruiting Gimon as an ally. He's confused because he could feel nothing but hostility coming from the guy. The hero explains that his holy sword plunger has a special ability to detect the source of an opponent's hostility. He points out how Soo-song-man's hostility was born purely out of greed. But Gimon is different. His aggression comes from a place of wanting to protect the orphanage. Hyun-soo worries about what they'll do next, now that their offer has been rejected. They speed past a distribution center, despite the hero saying they should return to school. Hyun-soo realizes they're heading straight for the distribution center and starts to freak out. The hero just grips his plunger tighter, ready for the next fight. Somewhere else, the guy with the headphones is checking his phone while on the move. He tells his driver to hurry up, wanting to catch their target while the opportunity is still open. And that target is none other than Lee Gimon. Back at the orphanage, the kids are huddled together with their toy weapons, looking pretty miserable. One little girl asks if the good people are really gone, upset that she didn't even get to say a proper goodbye. Lee Gimon kneels down to comfort them, mentioning that their hero roleplay didn't get a proper ending. He puts on a brave face and tells them they can play night roleplay with him instead. Just as things settle down, a large truck pulls into the yard, and Gimon figures it's just a delivery. But it's not supplies. Soo-song-man hops out of the truck with a casual greeting. Gimon is stunned to see him there, while the kids wonder who this stranger is. Soo-song-man gives the children a creepy smile, commenting that it's been a while since he last saw them. He pulls out a teddy bear, dressed in a little suit. He offers the toy to the girl, while taking a puff of his cigarette, asking if she wants it. Then he flicks his ash right onto the bear, coldly warning her that he won't be responsible if she gets hurt. The poor kid starts trembling, completely frozen by how terrifying the guy is. Gimon steps in and puts a hand on her head, telling her not to worry and to go play with the others. As the kids bolt for the building, Soo-song-man complains that he didn't even get a chance to say hi. Gimon doesn't have time for his attitude, and tells him to put out the cigarette, since they're at an orphanage. He gets right in the guy's face, making it clear he'll wreck him if he doesn't listen. Soo-song-man just shrugs and walks away, claiming they're on a tight schedule anyway. He mentions that his boss is currently tracking down that hero guy. He asks Gimon if he's seen him, but Gimon keeps his mouth shut. Soo-song-man finds it suspicious, since he was positive the guy came this way. The back of the truck suddenly clicks open. He says it doesn't really matter anyway, because the hero wasn't their actual target. Gimon demands to know what he's talking about, and Soo-song-man tells him they're doing things his way now. A whole mob of thugs with bats pours out of the truck and surrounds Gimon. Soo-song-man starts running his mouth about the orphanage and their messy history. With a nasty grin, he tells Gimon that they're going to end their relationship right here and now. The thugs charge in all at once, swinging their bats with everything they've got. Gimon gets into a fighting stance, having known this guy was going to pull something like this. Out of nowhere, a massive guy with a head bandage grabs Gimon from behind. The big guy says he's sorry it has to be this way, but a ranker needs to fall so he can move up the hierarchy. Gimon isn't having it and slams a punch into the guy's face to break free. The rest of the gang screams for everyone to jump him at once. A heavy punch connects, nearly knocking one of the thugs out cold. Gimon clears the area, sending several guys flying with a powerful kick. He takes to the air, launching a devastating strike from above. After taking them all down, Gimon mocks them for not bringing at least 2 rankers to stop him. Su Songman gives him a sarcastic round of applause, seemingly unimpressed. He asks if Gimon is really sure he'd need 2 rankers to get the job done. That's when Gimon sees that Su Songman has snatched the little girl and is using her as a shield. The girl screams for help while the thug tells her to shut up and stay still. While Gimon is frozen in horror, a massive professional thug in a suit aims a brutal haymaker at his head. The tier 3 ranker doesn't hesitate, charging straight at Gimon while he's pinned down. Su Songman stands confidently next to his muscle, mocking them for thinking he wouldn't bring a professional hunter along. Cracking his knuckles, the suit-clad ranker looks forward to breaking the monster that Su Songman warned him about. Gimon realizes he's up against the combined force of several high-tier rankers at once. The tier 3 hunter slowly approaches, while Su Songman promises to leave the kids alone as long as Gimon doesn't fight back. The little girl screams in terror, begging Gimon to just endure the hits so they don't get hurt. A brutal punch from the ranker connects, slamming Gimon's face into the dirt. The attacker is unimpressed, telling Gimon that he's nothing compared to the stories he's heard. Gimon clenches his teeth and takes the abuse, forced to remain completely defenseless. Su Songman watches the one-sided beatdown with a cold, satisfied expression. He hasn't forgotten the day Gimon tried to stare him down at the gym. It's been eating at him ever since. He tells the ranker to keep going, wanting Gimon to struggle so he can feel every bit of the pain. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the air, asking if Su Songman is really proud of himself for holding a child hostage. Hansu steps into view with a chilling look in his eyes, telling Su Songman that he PS the one who should be worried. The thug holding the girl is paralyzed with fear as she cries out for her hero to save her. Su Songman is completely stunned, realizing he didn't even notice Hansu standing right behind him. Hansu doesn't give him a chance to react, delivering a heavy blow that drops the thug instantly. His eyes glow with a fierce blue light as he simply states that he rode a bike to make it there in time. Flashback to when Lee Ji-myeon was young. He says there were always so many things he wanted back then. In his house, he was only ever allowed to have simple toy cars, while other kids got the latest gadgets. Suddenly, a shadow looms over his memory. It's the hero, plunger in hand, telling him that this entire lifestyle is strictly banned. Back in reality, Hansu has him pinned to the ground, repeating his favorite catchphrase. Whatever he's trying to do is prohibited. Possessed by Mercury, the guy on the ground is losing it. He screams at the hero, asking what he ever did to him and why he's even getting involved. He lets out a roar of pure, unfiltered frustration. The hero doesn't care about his feelings. He reminds the guy that taking a hostage was a bridge too far. A massive shockwave erupts from the impact, clearing out the remaining lackeys in one go. The chairman's bodyguard watches from the sidelines, looking pretty concerned about how easily this guy is handling everyone. Hyun-soo is in the middle of the chaos too, keeping his focus sharp. He knows he can't afford to look away for even a second. Meanwhile, another thug is trying to use a little girl as a human shield, threatening to do something crazy if anyone makes a move. The girl looks up and sees someone wearing a bike helmet. Is that a Power Ranger? The orphanage kids launch a surprise ambush. They tackle the thug, shouting for the girl, Ha-eun, to run for it. One of the kids even pulls out a toy gun, demanding it be handed over so they can finish the job. They swarm the guy, calling themselves the hero's servants. It's actually kind of impressive. The thug is drowning in a sea of toddlers, letting out a pained grunt. He tries to act tough, asking who they think they are and if they want to die. But his hostage is gone, and he's completely lost control of the situation. Ha-eun isn't just running away, she's using her bayonet skill to fight back. She executes a perfect forward thrust with her toy rifle right into the guy's nuts. An egg smashes on the ground. Talk about imagery. The director is nearby, playing innocent while secretly making the thug slip up. He wonders aloud why his hands are so slippery today. Ha-eun looks down at the fallen thug, looking way cooler than an 8-year-old should. The guy with the head bandage is so shocked he actually faints while standing up. That's a new one. Hyun-soo looks over at the unconscious Gimon. The main threat is finally down. He announces that the kids have been successfully rescued. Mission accomplished. The chairman's lead bodyguard decides it's finally time to end this. He's had enough. He watches the hero absolutely wrecking everyone else in the background. The guy is a force of nature. He realizes this guy is actually serious and decides he needs to step it up. The bodyguard rushes in, ready to strike Hyun-soo, but he stops abruptly. He figures since the person he was hired to guard has fainted, there's no reason to keep fighting. He'll deal with this later. The hero isn't letting him go that easily. He challenges the bodyguard to face him right now. Han-soo takes a massive swing with his plunger. The bodyguard catches it with his bare hands. He mocks the hero, asking if he really thought just swinging that thing around would work. With a quick move, the bodyguard sends the hero flying before making his exit. The rest of the thugs see their leader leaving and panic, begging him to wait up. They're terrified of being left behind. Ha-eun is back to being a normal 8-year-old, reading her book in peace. She's had enough adventure for one day. Hyun-soo stands over the defeated Gimon, relieved that the nightmare is finally over. Everyone is safe. The hero watches the thugs flee. Hyun-soo asks if they should chase them, but Han-soo says it's fine to let them go. He remembers something someone told him. It's not about defeating the enemies that counts. It's about protecting the people who actually need it. The kids are all smiles, thanking their Hyung for saving the day. Hyun-soo is completely thrown off by what he's seeing. The director, Choi Gap-soo, stands in the middle of the yard with a plunger, looking at the absolute mess these thugs have made of his orphanage. His heart drops when he sees Ha-eun lying motionless on the ground. He rushes to her side, desperately checking to see if she's okay. Hyun-soo can only watch, stunned by the old man's sudden burst of speed. The thug with the head bandage is panicking. He knows he's in deep trouble and tries to call for help, but he's so rattled he can't even remember the right number. He realizes he's completely cornered with nowhere left to run. Choi Gap-soo is fuming. He's asking for a number too, but he's probably looking for someone to help him dispose of this garbage. The thug tries to take the old man hostage, thinking he's an easy target. He couldn't be more wrong. With a single lightning-fast strike, the director sends the guy face first into the dirt. The thug is left gasping for air, wondering how a damned old man could be this strong. He looks up just in time to see the director coming at him for the finishing blow. A massive kick connects, sending the thug's head snapping back with a sickening crunch. The guy is left spread-eagled on the ground, completely out of it. The director doesn't even break a sweat. Turns out, Choi Gap-soo used to be a plumber. He's clearly kept his skills sharp and won't tolerate any violence at his orphanage. Elsewhere, a battered lackey with headphones reports the failure to his superior. He explains that the goods were destroyed after the hero suddenly interfered. We see a close-up of a unique tattoo on the driver's wrist, the planetary symbol of Saturn. Soo Songman, the enforcer in the suit, listens with a grim expression. He realizes Lee Gi-myeon made a huge mistake by teaming up with the hero. He grips the steering wheel tight, his wrist a bit hurt, probably because he liked the video 100 times. He remembers the hero and his plunger, saying his bone must be incredibly dense. He speeds off through the city streets, already planning his revenge for the next time they cross paths. Looking at his phone, he mutters that Lee Gi-myeon has finally crossed the line. This isn't something they can just ignore. The blonde boss, his eyes glowing a terrifying blue, decides that if a line has been crossed, he might as well cross it too. The real trouble is just beginning. We're back at the gym in southern Suseong-hae, and the vibe is definitely off. One of the tracksuit bullies is barking orders, making sure everyone stays on their toes and keeps moving. The students are being worked like pack mules, told they won't be heading home until every last box is moved. Then Mercury walks in with his crew, looking for someone who apparently messed up. He finds Cho Gyute kneeling on the floor, looking like he's about to have a total meltdown. Mercury isn't here to offer a hand, he's just looking down at the guy with pure, unadulterated disgust. Gyute is at his breaking point, begging for a way out and pleading for his boss to show some mercy. But Mercury doesn't do second chances. He slams his power down, nearly crushing the guy right into the floorboards. He's sick of dealing with humans, his eyes glowing with a terrifying blue light as he vents his frustration. He looms over the terrified student, making it clear that his patience has completely run out. To him, people without skill are just obstacles that need to be cleared out of his path. Gyute tries to shift the blame, calling it a mistake and complaining about how the hero got in the way. He's literally begging for one more shot, promising to do whatever it takes to make things right. Mercury just gives him this chilling, sadistic smile that says more than words ever could. But the reign of terror hits a wall when the police show up, snapping pink handcuffs on the bullies. All the delinquents who tried to trash the orphanage are finally rounded up and forced to their knees. The director is checking his phone, absolutely fuming that they had the nerve to target his home. Park Hyun-soo is still a little shook up, so out of it he's actually asking what the number for 112 is. The hero stands with them, agreeing that guys like this need to be pulled out by the roots. Hyun-soo makes it crystal clear that he's still not on the same team as the guy who just saved them. He tells him flat out that the next time they cross paths, it'll be as enemies. Even so, he's man enough to admit that the kids would have been in real trouble if the hero hadn't stepped in. The hero just gives him a smug smirk, knowing he's earned a little bit of respect. They end the day with a handshake, a temporary truce after taking down the gang. The director starts walking off, acting like he's ready to jump right back into the fray. Hyun-soo is losing his mind, thinking the old man is actually serious about fighting someone. But the hero's got other priorities. He's starving and finally ready for a decent meal. One of the captured bullies is having a complete panic attack, wondering what's next for him. It doesn't help his nerves that one of the orphans is standing right behind him, pointing a rifle at his head. He's begging for his life, crying about what'll happen to his brother if he doesn't make it out. Later that night, the hero slips away into the woods for some much-needed solo training. He's got a plunger in his hand, and he's swinging it around like it's some legendary blade. He pushes himself to the limit, moving with a speed that most people wouldn't even be able to track. A massive strike sends a shockwave through the air, showing he's still got some power left. He stops for a second, standing alone in the quiet forest as the leaves settle around him. But he's completely wiped out, sweat dripping down his face as he struggles to catch his breath. He looks down at the plunger, realizing that something is seriously wrong with his current state. After being in this world for a while, he's finally starting to notice the difference. He clenches his grip, frustrated by the fact that he's actually grown much weaker here. If he's going to keep up with the bullies in this world, he's going to need a whole new strategy. He tracks down the director and drops to his knees, begging the old man to take him as a student. But the director just yells at him to get lost, confused why this kid is bothering him while he's busy unclogging a toilet. The hero asks a simple question. Does he really need a reason to protect the people who can't protect themselves? He tells the director straight up, he just isn't the type of person who can sit back and watch the weak get hurt. The old man admits the kid doesn't talk like any of the teenagers he's met before, and finally gives him a nod of approval. He says he's seen a similar spark in others in the past, so he's willing to take him on and help him out. They get right to it, with the director asking him what he thinks is missing from his fighting style. The hero thinks it's just that he hasn't mastered his weird weapon yet, but the director tells him he's way off. He explains that learning to swing a plunger around is the least of his worries right now. Having watched him fight Gimon, he asks the hero if he's ever actually fought a real human before. The look of shock on the kid's face tells him everything he needs to know, so he decides they need to start from square one. He cracks his knuckles with a wide grin. It's time for a crash course in some old-school hand-to-hand combat. At a construction site deep in the night, the steel skeletons of unfinished buildings loom under the moonlight. A black luxury car pulls up beneath the scaffolding, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Kwak Tae-hwa, a manager from Mona Construction, steps out with his personal guard, clearly annoyed to be called out at this hour. Lighting a cigarette, Kwak mutters about teaching whoever summoned him a lesson for wasting his time. He looks up to see a figure sitting calmly on a high beam, watching them from the shadows. Choi Jin-song stands up, wearing a blue dragon jacket, and demands to know why the manager is so late. Kwak's men move to intercept, but before they can even blink, they're met with sudden, violent resistance. Byun-hwa-gu lashes out with a lightning-fast strike, shattering the composure of the security team. Lim Hyung dives in next, his massive fist connecting with the ground and sending a shockwave through the site. The two enforcers stand over the defeated guards as Jin-sung hops down, dismissing Kwak's complaints as boomer talk. Kwak stammers, completely blindsided by the sudden violence. Jin-sung gets straight to the point. He wants double the supplies for Southern Susong-hai starting now. The manager is outraged, but his anger quickly turns back to fear. Kwak tries to claim he only answers to the chairman, hoping to use his connections to back the kid off. Jin-song isn't listening. He's already grabbed another one of Kwak's men and is holding him over the roof's edge. The lackey dangles helplessly, begging the manager to agree to whatever they want. Kwak can only watch in horror as he realizes the situation is way out of his control. With a single glowing blue eye, Jin-song delivers an ultimatum. Yes or no. With the deal struck, Jin-song stands at the edge of the building, calculating the supplies they'll need for their expansion. He wonders when they'll have another shot at catching the one they call the hero. Lim Hyung reports that he's already found 2 key locations near Southern Susong-hai to target. Jin-song stares into the distance, his eyes cold as he identifies the next schools on his list. He orders the group to get ready to move immediately. 2 weeks pass, and the quiet atmosphere of the school belies the tension brewing beneath the surface. Lee Ji-myeon is on the phone, watching the courtyard from his vantage point. He reports that the school is eerily quiet today, as if the usual top dogs have all vanished. But something even stranger is happening. Students from rival schools are working together. Trucks are being loaded by students from Ilseong and Iseong High, all under the same command. On the other end of the line, Park Hyun-soo asks if Gimon is going to hunt down the ringleaders. Hyun-soo listens intently, processing the data Gimon is feeding him. Back at the orphanage, Hyun-soo is surprisingly wearing a pink dress and a tiara, seemingly drafted into playing with the kids. He explains that he heard rumors of someone recently scouting out the area. It's clear now that Jinsong has been systematically absorbing every school in the vicinity into his operation. Gimon realizes this is a massive expansion of influence, not just a petty rivalry. They're moving to swallow up every school around them before anyone can react. Gimon wonders why they're focusing on the schools that have already been taken over, instead of finding the next target. Hyun-soo brings up the game Catch the Tail, a childhood classic where you have to grab the last person in line. His strategy is simple. As Jinsong expands, he'll leave a vulnerable point behind a tail for them to grab. The goal is to pluck that tail out and break the entire chain of command. Despite his ridiculous outfit, Hyun-soo is dead serious about making them catch their own tails. He believes this is the best way to finally get to Susongman. Gimon agrees to the plan. It's time for this unlikely duo to work together. In a dimly lit room, several students are forced to their knees, their faces bruised and their spirits broken. A voice rings out, mocking them. The space is crawling with thugs. One of them screams at the kneeling boys, telling them that if they don't do their jobs, the higher-ups will be the ones suffering. Yu Chul-ho, the Tier 1 fighter from Ilseong High, takes a drag from his cigarette. He looks completely bored by the misery he's causing. Beside him, Bong-gu-tak from Iseong High lights up as well. He insults the students, pointing out that one of them was stupid enough to transfer from his school. The boys remain silent, knowing any word could mean more pain. Bong-gu-tak just laughs, finding the whole situation hilarious. Yu Chul-ho decides that since they clearly need some motivation, he's going to provide it himself. He pulls out a clipboard and grins. It's filled with the personal information of every student's family. He tells them they're free to leave, but if they do, he'll just spend his time visiting their families instead. Bong-gu-tak scans the pages and spots a photo. He's immediately interested, calling someone's sister incredibly pretty. He threatens to post her information online for her classmates to see. Terrified, one student finally breaks and begs to do the work. The bullies laugh at how easy it was to break them, but their celebration is cut short by a voice saying it's not easy at all. A hooded figure walks toward them, challenging their methods. The bullies are stunned that anyone would dare interrupt. Yu Chul-ho and Bong-gu-tak glare at the newcomer. They dismiss him as a total loser just by looking at him. Park Hyun-soo stares back from under his hood, his expression unreadable behind his glasses. Bong-gu-tak grabs him, demanding to know which school he's from and asking if he has a death wish. Hyun-soo calmly asks if they can finally tell which ones are the real bullies. The bullies are confused, thinking he's lost his mind. But Hyun-soo isn't even looking at them. He's addressing the man standing right behind him. The hero, Kang Han-soo, has arrived with his trusty plunger. Han-soo's eyes glow with an intense blue light as he fixes his gaze on the thugs. Bong-gu-tak is frozen, unable to process the aura of the guy standing in front of him. Han-soo declares that he's going to get rid of everything, including both of them. The bullies can only call him crazy. Hyun-soo warns them that someone else will be the one to deal with them. He's already done his part. As Han-soo prepares to fight, a familiar face emerges from the shadows. Wow, he really came here all by himself, the voice scoffs. Byun-hwa-gu steps out, gripping a baseball bat. He says he missed Han-soo and wonders if they should pick up where they left off. Behind his jagged mask, Hwa-gu's red eyes burn with anticipation. The rematch is about to begin. A high school baseball game is in full swing. On the mound, Lee Gi-myeon catches his breath between pitches. The ball pops into the catcher's glove with a sharp crack. Gi-myeon stares down the batter before his next throw. He hurls a fastball that blurs through the air. Back at the gym, Gi-myeon and his crew surround the hero, thinking they have the upper hand. They charge in together, confident they can end this quickly. The hero counters instantly, knocking both lackeys aside at the same time. In a flash, the two henchmen are flat on their backs. The hero glances back at Park Hyun-soo. He tells Hyun-soo to get the others out of the way while he cleans up. The guys on the floor are stunned that they were taken down so easily. The hero tells the downed bullies to get lost if they're done fighting. Gi-myeon doesn't wait, swinging his bat with everything he's got. The hero ignores the attack, telling the lackeys to stop wasting his time. He gives Gi-myeon a skeptical look when the guy tries to act tough. Gi-myeon admits he prefers working alone since he's not exactly a people person. He leaps into the air, challenging the hero to a one-on-one. The hero easily evades the heavy swing of the baseball bat. A series of dodges follows as the hero dances around the frustrated attacker. Gimon mocks him, saying there won't be a truck to save him this time around. The hero just replies that he doesn't need any help to win. He flashes back to a training session where his plunger was stuck to a rock. The hero claims he's defeated thousands of demons with his plunger, but the director just thinks he's lost his mind. The old man notes that the hero's body is already at its peak, so normal training is pointless. Meditating under a waterfall, the hero asks why he has to do this anyway. The director bluntly tells him he just felt like making him do it for a laugh. He explains that the hero lacks experience in close quarters combat against humans. He points out that the hero has never actually fought with a plunger before. The old man offers to teach him the ropes and tells him to follow along. Back in the present, Gimon is rattled by how much confidence the hero is showing. He lunges forward, aiming to take out the hero's legs. In the past, the director reaches for another bottle of soju. He sits under the full moon, enjoying a drink by the river. He's certain the kid will figure out how to fight without his plunger, if he has to. Back in the gym, Gimon grabs the plunger, trying to wrest it away. He pulls with all his might, but the hero doesn't move an inch. Seizing an opening, Gimon aims a strike directly at the hero's exposed chin. A sudden counterpunch lands squarely on Gimon's jaw. The hero lets go of the plunger, leaving it stuck to a nearby pillar. He drops into a perfect boxing stance, ready to finish this with his fists. He asks Hyun-soo if he's doing the jab correctly. Han-soo keeps up the heat, still jokingly calling his punches jams instead of jabs. He decides he's played around enough and prepares to switch tactics. With a sudden yank, he pulls his plunger back out of the wall where he'd left it. Gimon is caught off guard, his feet slipping as he loses his balance. The hero brings his weapon down with a force that feels like an earthquake. A massive shockwave erupts, nearly leveling the gym floor. Han-soo stands over the wreckage, his eyes glowing with intense power. Across the school, Park Hyun-soo slips into the darkness of the principal's office. He searches for the list of schools the gang plans to take over next. He checks the desk and spots a suspicious-looking file. To his surprise, he discovers what appears to be someone's last will and testament. A voice from the doorway calls out for Gimon, thinking he's the one in the room. The chairman warns that his office isn't a place for casual visits. He steps forward, his blue eyes glowing as he asks the intruder if they want to die. Hyun-soo doesn't seem bothered, calmly telling the man not to worry about him. He turns with a chilling expression, warning the chairman that he's the one in real trouble now. Choi Jin-sung, or rather the demon Mercury, lies defeated on the cold ground. Park Hyun-soo watches him closely, seeing the fear in his eyes now that his mask is finally gone. Without his disguise, Jin-seong is frantic, scrambling around to find the mask he lost. He's desperate, crawling on his hands and knees to cover his face again. A memory flashes back to the other students. He wasn't a boy, but a monster they could laugh at. They didn't show him any mercy, kicking him while he was already down on the floor. He tried to hide the scar on his mouth, but their constant mocking only made it worse. A massive student with a baseball bat stood over him, enjoying the power trip. The bully told him he should have just stayed silent instead of getting his face ripped open by a ball. They treated him like target practice, tossing baseballs at him just to see him flinch. He was terrified, falling back as the bat swung dangerously close to his face. They called him disgusting, telling him he didn't even look human anymore. Suddenly, a new presence stepped in, looming over the broken boy. Jin-sung was still panicking, screaming for his mask so he could hide his shame. A student with red hair looked down at the black mask lying in the dirt. He picked it up, looking at the boy on the ground with a serious expression. Instead of mocking him, he offered a hand to help the broken boy stand. Jin-sung took it, finally finding a shred of kindness in a world that hated him. Back in the present, he puts the mask on one last time, ready to accept the end. A final blow connects, sending him crashing into the ground for good. He stares up with empty eyes, telling them to just finish it for real. "Fine. I lost," he whispers, as his body begins to dissipate into smoke. Park Hyun-soo looks down at the spot where the demon was, feeling a heavy weight lift off his shoulders. He turns to the red-haired student, asking if Lee Ji-myeon is really at the school. He stands over Jin-sung's empty clothes, realizing the battle here is finally over. Suddenly, his phone vibrates in his pocket. It's an urgent message from Gimon. The headmaster is in serious danger. There's no time to celebrate. Things are taking a dark turn at the school. Over at the high school, Lee Gi-myeon confronts his former associates. He looks at the blonde boss, disappointed that they would stoop this low. The boss stands in the doorway, looking down on Gimon with pure arrogance. Gimon holds up a document, realizing it's a fake will meant to steal the orphanage. He realizes their plan was to kill the old man and take everything for themselves. The blonde boss doesn't even flinch, his expression remaining cold and heartless. Gimon is done talking. He knows there's only one way to settle this. He launches himself forward, determined to put an end to the corruption. He throws a punch, but the boss is faster than he looks. The blonde boss dodges effortlessly, his eyes glowing with a sinister blue light. He stares Gimon down, asking if he actually thinks he has a chance. Gimon doesn't care about the difference in power. He just has to win. He throws a high kick, putting all his strength into the strike. A massive shockwave rings out as the two powerhouses finally clash. Lee Gimon stares down the blonde boss with a cocky smirk, admitting that he at least knows the basics of fighting. The boss doesn't look impressed, landing a heavy blow and asking if he's really sure he can handle a real fight. Gimon just laughs it off, clearly enjoying the thrill of the challenge. He prepares to launch another attack, thinking he needs to get rid of any distractions. Suddenly, the boss is caught off guard as heavy chains lash out from the side, surprising him. It turns out they were hidden inside the nearby boxes, a trap that was waiting to be sprung. But the boss just smiles coldly, telling Gimon it's time to say goodbye as the situation turns. Meanwhile, Park Hyun-soo is on his scooter, rushing to see if the director is safe. He's not alone, as Bien-hwa-gu and Lim Hyung follow closely behind on a motorcycle. Hwa-gu is back in his jagged mask, looking as aggressive as ever as he tells his partner to shut up. Hyun-soo tells the pair he's trusting them for now, but to call him immediately if things go south. Hwa-gu warns him not to get comfortable. He's only helping because they got his mask back, and he's sure the boss will crush them anyway. As they ride, Lim Hyung asks about the name Mercury, wondering if it's some kind of secret identity for Choi Jin-sung. He mentions eavesdropping on a conversation where a stranger used that name instead of the one they know him by. He realizes that whatever Mercury is, it's a title that carries a lot of weight. Far away in the forest, the director is staggering home after a night of drinking. He mutters to himself about how his body is failing him, joking that he should probably stick to shooting his guns. He nearly falls over after bumping into a mysterious figure in a hoodie, quickly offering a drunk apology. As he continues on his way, he can't help but worry about Lee Ji-myeon, and if the kid is staying safe. He's completely oblivious to the hooded figure behind him, who is raising a large knife with glowing eyes full of murderous intent. At the southern Susong-hai gym, the atmosphere is heavy and the night is quiet outside. Inside, Lee Ji-myeon is collapsed on the floor, breathing hard as a student in a blue tracksuit casually walks past him. The bully mocks him, calling him stupid for not being able to handle even a simple task. Gimon can only stutter an apology, promising to fix his mistake. Gimon looks up from the ground, his face bruised and eyes full of desperation as he begs for another chance. Out of nowhere, Lim Hyung delivers a brutal kick right to his face, sending the poor kid reeling. Lim Hyung stares down with a cold, disgusted look, saying he'll clean up any trash that gets in his way. He turns to the other students, warning them that they'll be next if they don't do their work properly. He orders them to dump Gimon somewhere and make him work again as soon as he wakes up. But the bullies are stopped in their tracks as the hero, Kang Han-soo, approaches with a plunger slung over his shoulder. Han-soo stands ready, his gaze sharp and his resolve unwavering as he faces the group. The other students can only watch in confusion, wondering who this kid is and why he's carrying a bathroom tool. Han-soo notes that since he spent most of his life fighting demons, dealing with humans is a rare change of pace. He thinks back to his time as a knight in another world, where the battlefield was much more literal. Back then, he thought that if he could just wipe out the demons, he'd finally create a peaceful world. But looking at the night sky now, he realizes that those selfish ideals of humans don't just disappear with the demons. Back in the present, Lim Hyung looks at the kid with pure bewilderment. He demands to know what Han-soo thinks he's trying to do. Han-soo doesn't waste words. He just reaches out and catches Lim Hyung's arm in a firm grip. He tells him that after coming here, he finally understands that some people are just born evil. He stares into Lim Hyung's eyes, noting that humans like him never actually change. In a different fight, the blonde boss stands with a massive chain, lecturing about how humans only throw away what they deem useless. His blue eyes glow with intensity as he questions the very nature of evil and selfishness. Gimon is panting heavily, his body at its limit but his spirit still flickering. The boss tells him it's time to stop, deciding to throw him out of the group once and for all. He claims his business is about to grow, and that'll mean more support for the orphanage. Gimon just scoffs at the word, thinking it's all complete nonsense. He calls out the boss for exploiting weak kids, and pretending it's for the greater good of the orphanage. The boss's gaze turns lethal as he insults Gimon, refusing to listen to his moralizing. He swings the heavy chain with a thunderous crack, lashing out at his former subordinate. Gimon realizes the reach of the weapon has shifted, making it impossible to stay at a safe distance. He dives forward, hoping to close the gap and find an opening to attack. He puts everything into a charge, but the metal chain is already whistling back through the air. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes he's run straight into a trap. The boss stands firm, the chain ready to ensnare him once again. He smirks, telling Gimon that he's no match for him, no matter the distance. Flashback. A younger Gimon falls to his knees during training, telling Choi Gapsu that he can't go on. Gapsu is disappointed, reminding him that he was the one who begged to be taught how to fight. The old man asks why he even wanted to learn if he was going to give up so easily. Gimon says it's because he couldn't stand seeing the other orphans being picked on. Gapsu asks if he'll just quit on those kids the moment things get difficult. He tells the boy that the second you acknowledge a limit, that's the moment you've actually hit it. Back in the present, Gimon leaps into the air with renewed determination, refusing to believe there's any limit to what he can do. Gimon brings his foot down with all his might, pitting the heavy metal chain to the floor. The blonde boss's eyes widen in disbelief as he realizes his weapon has been rendered useless. Using the chain as a springboard, Gimon launches himself into the air, closing the distance for a finishing blow. The boss barely manages to dodge the high kick, the force of the movement creating a shockwave through the gym. He smirks, mocking the boy's special move and calling it a pathetic failure. But as the dust settles, he notices something in Gimon's eyes that wasn't there before. The boss is stunned to see Gimon still hovering in the air, seemingly defying gravity. Before he can react, Gimon lands a brutal sequence of strikes that sends the antagonist crashing back. He follows up with a direct hit to the face, his knuckles connecting with enough force to shatter the boss's composure. The blonde boss crashes into the ground, a crater forming beneath him from the sheer impact. He slowly pushes himself up, admitting he was genuinely surprised that a mere human could push him this far. Looking at the battered Gimon, he offers a rare moment of respect for the boy's tenacity. He tightens his grip on the chain, saying that if they ever meet in another life, he hopes they can be friends. As the battle draws to a close, Mercury's hold on his host finally snaps. The hero stands over the broken body of Choi Jin-sung, watching as the villain's essence prepares to depart with a final goodbye. A heavy thud echoes through the gym as the hero slams his plunger chain into the floor, sealing the victory. The energy dissipates, leaving nothing but the scent of ozone and dust behind. The hero stands alone amidst the wreckage, looking down at his handiwork. Beside the unconscious Jin-sung, Lee Ji-myeon lies defeated, both of them no match for the otherworldly power they tried to exploit. The scene shifts to a past memory, back when Park Hyun-soo first stood his ground. He faces the school's notorious blonde boss, questioning the identity of the monster hiding behind a student's face. Mercury, possessing the boss, just smirks at the boy's challenge. He hadn't forgotten their last run-in, and he was more than ready to follow through on his promise to end him. Hyun-soo doesn't even flinch, turning his back on the celestial threat. He simply tells him not to worry, because he's the one who's going to walk away from this fight alive. His eyes burn with a cold, blue light as he stares ahead, fully committed to the path he's chosen. There's no turning back now, only the fight that will decide their fate. Mercury lets his true nature shine through, his own eyes glowing with the power of a celestial. This was the moment the peaceful world ended, and the hunt for the hero truly began. Haniel smirks at his opponent, completely unfazed by the threat of being killed. He mocks him, saying his bluffing skills have actually improved. A massive shockwave erupts as their powers collide in a blinding flash of light. Haniel stands ready, gripping a heavy metal chain as he prepares to make his next move. Park Hyun-soo watches the battle with an intense, focused gaze, waiting for the right moment to intervene. Haniel stares back, his blue eyes glowing with a cold, supernatural light. He asks how his opponent is even still alive. A flashback reveals the moment Mercury was defeated in his original world by Helia and her warriors. He was supposed to have been killed. A demonic shadow looms behind Haniel as he demands to know how his foe managed to return to this world. He slams the heavy chain into the floor, shattering the wood under the sheer force of the impact. Haniel tightens his grip on the metal links, declaring that if his opponent is so curious, he'll just have to kill him all over again. He lets out a dark, confident laugh, relishing the challenge. Haniel lunges forward, closing the distance with incredible speed. He swings his jacket around, the motion blurring into the air as he prepares to strike. He mocks his opponent for trying to act tough after disappearing for so long. The metal chain whips through the air as Haniel launches a direct frontal assault. A violent explosion of energy rocks the gym as the attack connects, sending debris flying everywhere. Haniel is stunned to find that his target has completely vanished from sight. He tells Lee Gi-myeon to stay back for a second, intending to finish this alone. Gi-myeon, bruised and still blindfolded, remains silent as the fight continues around him. Hyun-soo steps forward and tells Gi-myeon to leave the rest of the fight to him. Haniel realizes he was tricked, noticing the plunger stuck firmly to the wall in the distance. He was distracted by the Holy Sword's presence. Hyun-soo asks Gi-myeon if he's going to be okay, noting that he came here specifically to save him. He questions if Gi-myeon truly doesn't care about what happens to the old director. Meanwhile, the full moon hangs high in the sky over the dark, quiet forest. Beyond Hwagu, hidden by his jagged tooth mask, lunges from the shadows to attack the director, Choi Gap-soo. Hwa-gu is shocked when the old man casually dodges his knife strike, realizing his target has years of combat experience. Gap-soo stands firm, wondering what kind of crazy person is climbing a mountain in the middle of the night. He recognizes Hwa-gu as the kid who threw a cigarette at Ha-eun the last time they met. Hwa-gu mocks him, saying that since he's not even that old yet, there's no reason to show him any respect. Gap-soo lets out a glow of energy, noting that the kid is just saying hurtful things now. He prepares to counterattack. Hwa-gu lunges forward again, shouting that he's going to show him a real, oldie attack. Gap-soo delivers a devastating punch straight to Hwa-gu's face, calling him a rude bastard. Hwa-gu's face is bloodied, and his mask is nearly shattered by the force of the old man's blow. Hyun-soo tells the others to worry about themselves as he leaps high into the air with the plunger in hand. He charges across the gym floor, the speed of his movement blurring the background. The plunger head is shown securely tangled in the heavy metal chain. Haniel smirks, thinking he can end this fight quickly if things continue this way. He tries to pull the chain, but he's confused when the plunger doesn't budge. The plunger remains firmly stuck to the wall, vibrating under the tension as Haniel pulls with all his might. Haniel is shocked that it's not unplugging, wondering if the plunger actually has the same properties as his original holy sword. Hyun-soo closes in on him, determined to land a decisive blow. He delivers a powerful flying kick, aiming to disrupt the chain and the plunger. Hyun-soo follows up with a direct punch, striking Haniel across the face with explosive force. Haniel charges forward with a powerful strike, his determination clear as he closes the gap. The plunger hits the floor with a loud suction sound, sticking fast to the gym floor. Haniel stares at his opponent, noting that there isn't much difference between this world and their original one, especially regarding the treatment of those who were once slaves. Mercury walks out of the shadows, listening as Haniel points out his ruthless ability to exploit the people around him. Mercury offers a dark, knowing smirk, seemingly unfazed by the hero's accusations. He suddenly lunges, delivering a brutal kick that catches Haniel off guard. Haniel manages to catch the kick, bracing himself against the demon's overwhelming physical strength. He grabs Mercury's leg and demands to know if he even has the capacity to care about human beings, after all he's done. Haniel looks up at the plunger flying through the air, calling it his holy sword. Mercury lands a heavy punch, calling Haniel a mere bystander in this world. Haniel grips the cold iron chain, refusing to let his weapon be taken away. Mercury mocks him for laughing, asking if he's finally gone crazy since arriving in this modern world. Haniel smiles, declaring that he finally feels like he can see the path he's meant to take. As they stand at opposite ends of the chain, Haniel admits that he was lost when he first came to this world. His eyes glow with an intense blue light as he realizes his true purpose. Haniel hauls on the chain with everything he has, knowing exactly what he has to do to end this. A servant bursts into the lavish dining hall, frantically calling out for Duke Carlos. The Duke barely looks up from his wine as he's told the hero is finally heading toward the castle. Everyone at the table is relieved, thinking the hero will finally wipe out the demons for good. While the nobles celebrate, a young slave named Mercury is stuck on the floor, cleaning up after them. He's heard all the stories about this legendary warrior before. A man who roams the land with a massive sword, killing every demon in sight to save humanity. Mercury looks up at the Duke, wondering if the hero actually knows what kind of people live here. As the Duke wipes his mouth, Mercury realized a long time ago that demons aren't the only evil things in this world. He stares at the floor, questioning if anyone can actually save people like him. Outside, the slave master cracks his whip and screams at everyone to get back to work. An old man collapses in the dirt, unable to keep up with the brutal labor. Mercury watches as the master approaches with a look of pure annoyance. The man starts lashing the elder, accusing him of faking an illness just to get out of work. Mercury can't just stand by and watch. He steps in and grabs the whip, begging him to stop. The master is stunned that a low-level slave like Mercury would actually have the guts to intervene. Mercury helps the old man up and promises the master he'll do double the work if he just lets it go. The master points toward the construction site, reminding him they need the new castle finished before the hero arrives. He claims it's all to boost the Duke's status, and Mercury quietly agrees, just to keep the peace. Later, the old man thanks Mercury for saving his life. Mercury just gives him a tired smile, saying it's just something he had to do. But even in the shadow of the massive palace, the slaves live in absolute misery. Mercury heads back to their small shacks and calls out to the orphan kids waiting for him. They all come running, and Mercury reminds himself that these kids are the only reason he keeps going. He pulls out a bag of bread he managed to scavenge, and the kids are thrilled to finally eat. He watches them with a warm look, glad he could provide even a little bit of comfort. A fellow slave named Helia walks up and calls him a fool for giving away his own meal again. She smiles and breaks her own bread in half, offering to share it with him. Mercury tries to refuse, but she insists she won't eat a single bite unless he does too. Helia takes a bite, her kindness standing out even in a place this dark. Unfortunately, Duke Carlos is watching from the balcony, and he's taken a liking to what he sees. The Duke decides he wants her for himself, not caring at all about the lives he's about to ruin. That night, the guards storm the slave quarters and start beating anyone in their path. The Duke looks down at the chaos, reminding the slaves that they've always belonged to him. He orders his men to keep whipping them until they remember their place. Helia is dragged away, while she begs the Duke to stop hurting the others. Mercury is pinned to the ground, reaching out for her as his world falls apart. He looks to the other slaves for help, but even the old man is too terrified to move. The Duke mocks him, asking if he really thought anyone would risk their life for a slave. He turns his back on the mess, ordering his men to finish Mercury off. Suddenly, a massive shadow covers the entire area. A swarm of demons descends on the castle, with a giant beast leading the charge. The Duke's arrogance is gone in an instant, as the massive demon reaches out to crush him. A massive demon claw reaches for the Duke, but Haneo leaps into the fray with his sword ready. The Duke looks up in awe, realizing the legendary hero has finally arrived to save him. Haneo tells the terrified man to get to safety while he deals with the monster. Back in the present, Park Hyun-soo stares off with a grim, battle-worn expression. He thinks back to the moment the hero stepped in. If he hadn't saved that person, this nightmare might never have started. He lunges at Lee Gimon, the two of them getting tangled in a mess of heavy chains. Lee Gi-myeon suddenly lets go of his weapon, using the momentum to slip away. Park Hyun-soo is caught completely off guard by the unexpected move. He turns his anger toward the hero's philosophy, frustrated that a man meant to save everyone is now choosing to fight. He shouts at Haneol, demanding to know how he can pick and choose who deserves to be saved. Haneol remains calm, easily dodging his student's frantic strike. Park Hyun-soo is suddenly faced with a plunger being brandished like a lethal weapon. He picks up his plunger as he falls to the ground. He hits this fraud in the face, and this gotta hurt. Back to the past, Haneol stands over the carcass of a giant demon as the people cheer his name. The hero turns back toward the crowd. Haneol asks if the man in front of him is the owner of this land, and Duke Carlos confirms it. The Duke introduces himself with a bow, claiming it's an honor to meet such a legend. A young servant named Mercury watches from the sidelines, wondering how he can ever repay the man who saved them. Carlos asks the boy if he's alright, and Mercury sheepishly says he isn't hurt anywhere. But Haneol points past him. He wasn't talking to the Duke. He's looking at the boy, noting that he's clearly taken a lot of damage during the fight. The Duke dismisses the concern, explaining that the kid is just a servant working on his land. Mercury thinks back to the attack, remembering how he got hurt while trying to protect the other servants. He believes that if the hero is someone who stands up for humans, then he will definitely help them. He clenches his fist, gathering the courage to speak up and get that help. But Carlos leans in with a cold whisper, threatening to slaughter every woman and child if the boy says a word. Terrified, Mercury just bows and keeps his mouth shut. Haneol tells him to lift his head, praising him for helping others. The boy is paralyzed by fear, unable to bring himself to expose the Duke's cruelty. His tears hit the dirt in the heavy silence. All he can do is pray that the hero will be the one to save them first. Suddenly, a group of adventurers arrives with a desperate warning that demons are attacking again. Reports come in of a surprise attack on the next town over. The Duke feigns shock, wondering if there were more monsters hiding nearby. Haneol doesn't hesitate, throwing his sword over his shoulder as he prepares to move out. Before leaving, the hero tells Carlos to make sure the child is properly healed. As soon as the hero is gone, the Duke's kindness vanishes, and he tells the boy to pretend today never happened. He tells Mercury he can rest for the day and walks off, leaving the boy trembling. Helia and the other children run over, relieved to see Mercury is alive. She asks if he's okay, but he's too dazed to answer her. She grabs his hands, trying to snap him out of his worry. Helia smiles, sure that the hero's promise to return means the Duke won't dare lay a hand on them. But that hope is short-lived. A rainy night finds her tied to a wooden stake. Mercury collapses in the mud, unable to process the horror in front of him. The Duke had everyone killed the children, and Helia included. Mercury learns the truth. The Duke ordered the massacre of any slave who wasn't useful for building his castle. Carlos steps out with his guards, mockingly calling the scene a horrible sight. He tells the survivors that if they don't want to join the bodies, they better work harder. He wants the castle finished before Haneol gets back so he can keep up his facade. Overcome with grief and rage, Mercury lunges at the man who took everything from him. He ends up thrown into a dungeon, broken and alone. The guards mock him through the bars, wondering why the Duke even bothered keeping him alive. They figure he's just a loose end being held until the hero leaves for good. They continue to gossip about the tragedy as they head off for their shift rotation. In the darkness of the cell, Mercury's hatred finally manifests into something monstrous. The guards turn back to see a demon standing where the boy once was, and they realize they're already dead. A high-ranking demon with white hair and sharp horns looms over the cell, sensing the bottomless hatred in Mercury's heart. The entity tells the boy he's been searching for someone with that exact look, the look of a human who loathes his own kind. He offers Mercury the power to take revenge on everyone he resents, promising to turn that grudge into something world-ending. Sometime later, a monstrous shadow falls across Duke Carlos's lavish dining room, interrupting a quiet meal. The Duke freezes in terror, his napkin clutched in his hand as he looks up at the nightmare he helped create. Mercury stands before him as a blood-soaked demon, his claws dripping with the life of anyone who tried to stop him. Carlos screams for his soldiers to seize the intruder, but Mercury calmly informs him that his entire guard has already been slaughtered. He pushes open the double doors, announcing that it's finally the Duke's turn to face judgment for his crimes. Outside the castle walls, the remaining slaves gather around a small fire, still trapped in their cycle of misery. They worry they'll never see the castle finished, certain they're destined to die as property for a man they despise. One man points into the darkness, barely recognizing the horned figure that's slowly walking toward them. Horror spreads through the camp as they find the Duke's decapitated head discarded in the dirt like trash. The slaves rush forward, half fearful and half amazed, asking how a young boy like Mercury could have possibly killed their oppressor. They cheer for their newfound freedom, thinking the nightmare of slavery is finally over. But Mercury's expression is void of mercy. He calls them all out for being silent bystanders while his friends were executed. He promises to make their remaining lives so miserable that they'll wish they had died on the stakes alongside Helia. Back in the present, the possessed Choi Jin-sung trades blows with Haniol, mocking his hollow attempts at heroism. Mercury asks if the hero ever stopped to think about the consequences of saving a boy who had already lost his humanity. He screams, revealing that he brought his hatred to this school because it's full of the same cowards he hated in the past. He claims that every world is exactly the same, populated by people who only look out for themselves. He labels everyone who didn't fight back as just another bystander, making them all targets of his eternal grudge. The students can only lower their heads in silence, unable to find the words to defend their own inaction. Haniol doesn't let the words slow him down, closing the distance and throwing a punch with everything he has. The impact forces him to confront the truth of his past mistakes, seeing the same cycle of silence in this new world. Mercury roars that a single moment of genuine care from the hero back then would have changed everything. He puts all of his centuries-old resentment into one desperate swing, his blue eyes flashing with pain. The force of his attack tears up the gym floor, sending a massive wave of energy toward the man he once worshipped. But as the dust settles, Mercury is left staring at empty space, frantically searching for where the hero disappeared to. He looks up to find Haniol hovering high above him, finally acknowledging that everything the monster said was right. Haniol admits that if he had truly cared more for the people he was saving, he could have protected so many more souls from darkness. With a heart heavy with regret, the hero dives down to end the battle, declaring that he has to stop this cycle of pain once and for all. Mercury's flashback starts by the campfire in another world. He looks serious, asking Helia if she's ever heard stories about a different world. She tells him a magician once mentioned there was a place beyond their own. Helia asks him if he's curious about what that other world might be like. She laughs it off, thinking the whole idea sounds a bit ridiculous. Mercury slumps over, wondering if slaves aren't even allowed to have dreams like that. Seeing him get defensive just makes Helia laugh even harder. She wonders what would happen if the two of them met in that other world. She calls him a good person, making Mercury blush and look away. She knows he always puts others first, basically acting like a parent to those orphans. It's the one thing about him she really admires. Mercury wonders how different things would have been if they met in a happier place. Helia leans against him and asks for just one promise. She wants him to promise he'll stay exactly the way he is right now. Back in the present, the hero watches as Mercury's final moments play out. But Mercury didn't stay the same. He stands over a field of graves. He knows the irony, loving humans is exactly what made him hate them. He plans to bring everyone to the new world once his work is finished. In the gym, his soul finally dissipates, leaving a final warning about keeping promises. A glowing blue diamond falls onto the floor. Haniol picks up the magic stone, staring at the strange gem. Lee Gimon finally wakes up and looks around, completely lost. He sees Choi Jin-sung on the floor and panics, asking what happened. Haniol keeps it simple, they took the guy down. Gimon realizes this isn't the same monster he was just fighting. Han-ail confirms that this is the real Choi Jin-sung. He explains the magic stone was used to jump dimensions and hijack someone's body. He drops the plunger and says they need to head to the orphanage. Gimyeon's mind is blown. He realizes the stories about the hero might actually be real. Meanwhile, Park Hyun-soo pulls up to the orphanage on his scooter. It's way too quiet. He starts worrying the director is in trouble. The director suddenly pipes up, annoyed that Hyun-soo thinks he's just sleeping. He walks out, carrying one of the attackers over his shoulder, like a sack of potatoes. He drops the guy and complains about how rough kids are with an old man. Hyun-soo runs over to check if the old man is actually okay. The director sighs, noting that their little invasion didn't really pan out. A massive guy in a suit walks up with a whole crew behind him. It's the same bodyguard who attacked the director earlier. Hyun-soo panics, realizing Haniol and Gimon aren't here yet. He asks the director if he's got some secret skills hidden up his sleeve. The director says he finally remembered his ultimate skill, dialing 112. He says goodbye to the villains as the police cars roll in, with sirens blaring. Police cars flood the scene, with their lights flashing everywhere. Park Hyun-soo and the director watch as the authorities finally take control of the situation. The goons start to scatter as the police close in on the front gate. Gimon rushes over to check on the director, frantic to see if the old man is okay. The old man is more annoyed by the kid's frantic shaking than the actual fight. Hyun-soo asks Haneol what happened with Jin-sung. Haneol keeps it brief. He successfully defeated the monster. He confirms that every last delinquent from Sujong-hai has been dealt with for good. Hyun-soo can't contain his relief and practically tackles Haneol with a massive hug. Everyone starts cheering. Their hero Oppa really did it. The orphans come charging out with their toy swords and guns, ready to celebrate the victory. They are happy that you liked the video. The director is stunned that they were awake the whole time, but the kids say the sirens were way too loud to sleep through. Haneol just smiles. As long as they won, that's all that matters to him. The whole place is buzzing with energy. It's a total win for the orphanage. Later on, drinks are handed out to help everyone relax after the chaos of the night. Gimon is definitely not relaxing. He's losing it over something the director said about his will. The director shuts him up with a firm hand, telling the kid to just pipe down and drink his tea. He reminds him that he's an old man, and having a will ready is just common sense. The old man gets serious for a second, hinting that things are going to change drastically once he's gone. Hyun-soo reflects on those words, realizing the world really is changing right in front of them. The reign of Sujong High School is officially coming to a crashing end. The evidence they posted about the school's systemic violence has gone completely viral online. It triggers a massive investigation from the Ministry of Education and the police. The corrupt chairman, the main bullies, and even the teachers who kept quiet are all taken away in handcuffs. Back at school, Haneol drops a bombshell he's planning on going back to his own world. Hyun-soo is completely floored, unable to believe the hero is actually planning to leave. Haneol shows him the magic stone he retrieved after defeating Mercury. He explains it can open a dimensional gate, but he needs a magician to activate it. He doubts one even exists in this world. Just as he says that, a sleek luxury car pulls up to the school. A well-dressed man steps out, sounding confident that he's found the right place. The mysterious figure is revealed, and he's labeled as a magician. Haneol sits there, thinking about mages and how there's no such thing in this world. But he freezes as a voice calls out to him, addressing him directly as Hero. A silver-haired man in a suit walks up with his security team, asking if Haneol recognizes him. The man gives a smug, knowing smile. Hyun-soo's jaw drops. He recognizes the guy instantly. It's Hibib, the world-famous culinary mogul. Haneol is confused and asks how Hyun-soo knows him. Hyun-soo can't believe he has to explain that Hibib is a literal global celebrity. Hibib isn't just a businessman. He's a top-tier food expert who's basically on every TV show in South Korea. And his brand of mayonnaise? It's the #1 bestseller in the world. But then, the famous mogul drops to one knee and bows, greeting Haneol with deep respect. He asks if the formal greeting makes him look more dignified, clearly having some fun with it. Haneol notes that Hibib has never been this polite. Hyun-soo is just trying to process the fact that these two are clearly old friends. Haneol reveals the truth. This man was once the great mage, who fought demons right by his side. They move the talk over to the massive Hibib corporate headquarters. Hibib looks out over the city as Hyun-soo asks if the whole summoning was a planned setup. Hibib explains that the holy sword was needed to extract magic stones, and for that, he had to bring the hero here. Haneol wants to know the real reason the mage vanished so suddenly back then. Hibib admits he was desperately searching for a way to bring the hero to this world. It all started right before the final battle with the Demon King, while Hibib was studying magic stones taken from the 5 Celestials. That's when he stumbled upon 2 powerful curses hidden inside. One curse was for dimensional travel, and the other was for possession. But the stones were booby-trapped. They triggered during his research and scattered across dimensions. Hibib was caught in the blast and pulled through a portal by one of those very stones. He woke up in a hospital bed with his magic almost gone, trapped in the body of a culinary entrepreneur. Since he couldn't just give up, he used his new life to develop a special mayonnaise that could be used to draw magic circles. He kept researching until he found a student caster, someone desperate enough to trigger the summoning circle. Hyunsoo realizes that all that weird viral marketing was actually Hibib's doing. Hibib confirms it, admitting he was the one sending out instructions to students on how to call for help. He laughs, thanking Hyunsoo for finally summoning the hero and bringing them together. Hyunsoo loses it and punches Hibib right in the face, calling him a lunatic. Haniol has to hold him back while Hyunsoo rants about being used for a mayonnaise experiment. He keeps swinging, screaming about all the trouble this plan put him through at school. Eventually, he calms down, and Haniol points out that at least the hero did beat up all the bullies for him. Hibib gets back up and dusts himself off, shifting the focus to the other celestial beings. He warns them that the others are gathering strength in their world, preparing to cross over. Haniol realizes the stakes. They need to find and destroy the remaining stones before that happens. The good news is that with the magic stone Haniol brought back, Hibib can finally open a gate to return home. He promises to have the dimensional gate ready by tomorrow morning. Later that evening, Haniol and Hyunsoo stand on the rooftop where they first met, watching the sunset. Looking back at everything, Hyunsoo realizes it hasn't been that long, but the time really flew by. Haniol turns to him, noticing something is on his mind. Hyunsoo looks out at the sky and finally says thank you. He tells Haniol that watching him fight gave him the courage to face his own life like a normal kid. Hyunsoo looks out over the city and says he's decided to chase his dream again. He's made up his mind he wants to become a police officer. Haniol smiles, remembering that Gimon had mentioned the police were the heroes of this world. Looking at a photo of his mom, Hyunsoo recalls how much he wanted to be just like her when he was a kid. But after she died in the line of duty, the pressure and fear of losing someone else became too much for him to handle. He spent a long time running away, but now he's finally ready to face that fear head on. He admits he's still a bit of a coward, so he wonders if he's just being unrealistic. Haniol immediately disagrees, telling him that's not the case at all. He tells Hyunsoo that he's one of the bravest people he's ever met, and that he'll make a fantastic officer. Hyunsoo takes a moment and then asks Haniol if he has a dream of his own. He wants to know what Haniol wants to do when he's not busy fighting demons. Haniol looks off into the distance, the idea of having a dream feeling completely foreign to him. He thinks back to his childhood, standing before the holy sword and having everyone call him a hero from that day on. He was grateful to protect people, but the constant weight of responsibility made him crave just a moment of rest. He felt like he could never truly relax, always terrified that someone would get hurt the moment he stopped. He doesn't regret his life, but it's clear the burden has taken its toll on him. Hyunsoo tells him to take that break right now and starts pulling him along. They head straight for Captain Arcade to see what normal life is all about. Haniol takes whack-a-mole incredibly seriously, treating every mole like a deadly enemy. Their intensity ends up causing a bit of a scene, and an angry regular gives them a piece of his mind. Next on the list is an all-you-can-eat buffet with an impressive spread of food. Haniol goes all out on a mountain of spaghetti, eating like he's finally found something he truly enjoys. They give a respectful bow to the chef after clearing out a good chunk of the kitchen's stock. After the feast, they head to the cinema to catch a movie and just sit back for a while. Haniol is actually laughing and having a blast, looking like a normal kid for once. They end the day at a photo booth, where Hyunsoo gives him a quick lesson on how to pose. The two of them make quite the spectacle, drawing curious looks from people passing by. As they walk through the streets at night, Haniol thanks Hyunsoo for such a fun day. He gives a thumbs up and promises to treasure the photo strip gift forever. The lighthearted mood fades when Hyunsoo asks exactly when he has to leave tomorrow. Haniol looks back at him, the weight of his world returning to his expression. Mage Hibib appears behind them, signaling that it's finally time to go. Haniol asks if the gate is ready, and Hibib confirms that he can leave at any moment. Haniol admits he wishes they had more time, but he knows they can't risk staying any longer. He turns to Hyunsoo, looking like he has so much more he wants to say. Hyunsoo beat him to it, simply thanking the hero for everything he's done. He tells Haniol to stay safe, and make sure the monsters never threaten Earth again. They share a final, firm handshake as Haniol promises to protect this world from his side. A pillar of light surrounds the two of them as they begin their departure back to their own world. Hyunsoo waves one last time as his friend vanishes into the light. The sun rises over the city, marking the beginning of a brand new day. Hyunsoo wakes up in his bed, fumbling for his glasses just like any other morning. Park Hyunsoo begins his morning by getting ready for school and pouring himself a cup of tea. He reflects on how his daily life hasn't changed much since Haniol left, though the tea from the director is a nice addition to his routine. In the other world, Haniol is immediately greeted by the Saintess, who tearfully berates him for being late and calls him a jerk. As he heads out, Hyunsoo realizes the biggest change is that he actually looks forward to going to school now. He gives a final nod to the photo of him and his mother, carrying the courage the hero left behind into his own world. Back in the fantasy realm, Haniel apologizes to the Saintess as she runs up to him, frantic that everyone has been waiting for so long. She curiously asks what he's holding as he gazes down at a small piece of paper. It's the photo strip from the arcade, a precious gift from a friend that he'll carry with him into every battle. Mage Habib and the rest of the party call out to him, announcing they finally located the magic stone they need. Hanael reaches for the hilt of his sword, his resolve stronger than ever before. With a bright smile, he leads his team forward, declaring that it's finally time to go beat the bad guys.